Before we begin our District 2 CZMP, this evening we are actually conducting a meeting of the Planning Board. Now, this meeting should take us 15 minutes or less, so we ask you to bear with us, but you get a chance to see what we do twice a month. For those who are coming in, I ask you to please take your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. The March 5th, 2020 meeting of the Baltimore County Planning Board is now called to order. My name is Scott Phillips, and I'm the chairman of the board. I'm going to ask the members of the board to introduce themselves, starting to my far right.
Bob Schweitzer, Paul Hartman, Scott Phillips, Steve Michael,
Nancy Howard, Christina Burton,
Kathy Wilson, Wade Wiggers, Mark Peck, John Harris, Howard Burles. Speak up. You have to yell.
We'll handle that a little bit. Hopefully you've got names here. Could I ask you all to stand with me and recite the Pledge of Allegiance? Flag is to our right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Muehlberger, are there any changes to our agenda this evening?
No, Mr. Chairman, there are not.
Very good. Board members, in the March 3rd email, you received draft minutes of the February 20th, 2020 meeting. You also have a copy in your workbook. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes? Are there any additions, corrections, any modifications? If not, I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes as prepared. It's been moved and there's been a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed to have the same right. Not hearing any, motion carries. The next item on our agenda is the board's final recommendation and vote regarding the capital budget and capital program. I will now hand things over to my esteemed colleague, Vice Chairwoman Christina Berzins, who is chairing our CIP committee. Ms. Berzins.
Thank you. Everybody on the board received a draft. We've been going through several capital improvement presentations that we've all been present for through the different departments, and everybody received a draft memo of the capital improvement budget that we would be submitting. Did everybody receive that? Okay. Does anybody have any comments on it before I get into my further remarks? Any comments on it?
One of the abilities that the committee has, they can remove or add to different items in the budget. And although we have not done that for several years, it's something that you have a unique ability to do. At least 7 of us represent districts and represent members of the county council. For 4 out of 5 years, I've requested, and we have requested, an additional space, gym space at Hereford High School. Now, we had normally, we would expect the various departments to respond to us as to whether they intend to act on our recommendations or whether they are not going to, or what their plans are. But we have not received anything in response to a recommendation additional gym space at Hereford. And as I've told you before, Hereford has one of the highest after-school participation of any of the schools in the county, over 80%. And they're not all on varsity teams, but there's many more that are after school spending time with recreation activities. we have one gym to handle all these 48 different teams, and plus hundreds of recreation teams. And I think that we need to send a message to the Board of Education that the people in the northern end of the county do matter, and we have a lot of people that drive a lot of miles to go to these activities, and I think some money should be shifted from the Board of Education budget over to designated for additional space in the gym. I met with the recreation people, and they are reluctant, even though they share space, they share some responsibility on funding with outdoor fields, but they do not do it on indoor fields. But I still feel that they could have an agreement with the county. If they put up a certain amount of funds, they could also be guaranteed a certain usage of the thing. But I think if the Board of Education were to reallot some of the funds to this, I think it would be a great benefit to the people in this county, and they're waiting a long time for it.
Any other comments before I proceed? So I'll just kind of go through a couple of things of how the capital improvement has gone as far as the budgeting and programming process. So the Planning Board capital improvement budget and program process for FY 2021 to FY 2026 began on October 17th, 2019, where we had a citizen input meeting held before the Planning Board. The board heard from 28 citizens verbally and in writing who expressed their concerns relating to capital improvements for their communities. County Executive John Olszewski made a presentation to the Planning Board on January 16, 2020. In his remarks, Mr. Olszewski noted that the budget process is more transparent and open with the continuation of the town hall meetings in every council district and the launch of a new open budget platform. Agencies have worked with the Chief Sustainability Officer to include resiliency and efficiency in their capital project requests. Nearly $340 million in bond referendums will be put before voters this year. The focus of the bond money will continue to fund the remaining projects in the schools for our future program and additional high school challenges that need to be addressed. The Planning Board Committee on the Capital Budget and Program held a work session on February 6, 2020, during which representatives from the Baltimore County agencies presented their capital budget requests. The Planning Board Committee on the Capital Budget and Program then also held another work session on February 13th, 2020, during which representatives from Baltimore County Public Schools and the Community College of Baltimore County presented their capital budget requests. So the purpose of this meeting right now before the Planning Board is for us to essentially approve the budget, and we all had the CIP memo sent to us, which listed 5 items of recommendations that were based on our prior discussions. And I think where the one item that's coming up, if nobody else has any other comments, is Mr. McGinnis would like to have reallocated $1 million of funds that would otherwise be utilized for schools to be directed to the Hereford zone for an expansion of their gymnasium. So before I continue, I just want to take a vote on that so that I can continue and finish up this part of the CIP hearing. So Wayne, I'm assuming you put a motion in, and do I have a second second? Okay, all in favor? Okay, the motion.
Can we make sure we get that vote right?
Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. 1, 2, keep your hand up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that does 1. How many are there? That passes.
Let's vote in favor of what Mr. McGinnis motion, right?
Yes. Any opposed? One, two, 3, 4, 5. You vote too. Okay, abstaining. Okay, so it looks like that motion carries. So with that in mind, I will now revise this last bullet point for the purposes of this. So the Department of Planning presented the staff CIP recommendations to the committee on February 20th. After discussion, the CIP committee accepted the staff recommendations for the FY 2021 capital budget and 5-year program and suggested 5 additions to the capital budget for FY 2021 as set forth in the board's cover letter to the Director of the Office of Budget and Finance, Edward P. Blades. In addition to those items set forth, the board needs to add that it recommends that $1 million be reallocated to the Hereford zone for the gymnasium expansion. So with that, is everybody agreed? Okay. So now.
Okay, so that was the motion coming from the chair, is that correct? Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved in second. That was your motion? Okay. It's been moved in second. Are there any questions? Hearing no questions, we're ready for the vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed have the same right. Not hearing any, motion carries. And our recommendation for CIP will move forward. Mr. Muehlberger, could you fill us in on recent legislation recently passed by the County Council following our last meeting?
Yes, Mr. Chair. First is Bill 420, Voluntary Private Security or Surveillance Camera Registration Program, for the purpose of creating a voluntary private security or surveillance camera registration, providing for certain incentives for registration requirements, for certain restrictions for obtaining and using the program, providing for the application of the Act, and generally relating to the Act. Next is Bill 5-20, CEBMIEMSS, Active Threat and Active Assailant Grant, for the purpose of amending the 2019-2020 current expense budget by appropriating to the Gifts and Grants Special Revenue Fund monies derived from federal funds made available to the county from the Maryland Institute for Emergency Medical Services Systems on behalf of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and the Maryland Emergency Management Agency. Bill 6-20, additions to the Baltimore County Landmarks List, for the purpose of adding new landmarks to the final historical landmarks list and generally relating to the historical landmarks list. Bill 7-20, zoning regulations manufacturing light zone use regulations, for the purpose of clarifying the industrial uses permitted by right of metal products manufacture or processing in the ML zone and generally relating to uses by right. Bill 8-20, zoning regs, uses permitted in the residence apartment zone, for the purpose of providing certain regulations for multifamily buildings in certain locations in the RAE 2 zone. Bill 9-20, zoning regs for tattoo or body piercing establishments, for the purpose of amending the zoning regulations related to the permitted use of a tattoo or body piercing establishment in the BMDT zone in order to clarify the distance requirement for such establishments.
Thank you, Mr. Muehlberger. Are there any other items before the board this evening? If not, the chair will entertain a motion. It's been moved that we conclude this meeting. Is there a second? All in favor, please say aye. Meeting is adjourned. All right. Now, the reason you are all here. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Baltimore County Planning Board hearing on the 2020 CZMP rezoning request within the 2nd Councilmatic District. My name is Scott Phillips, and I am the chairman of the Planning Board. Before the other members introduce themselves, I would like to bring your attention to the fact that our councilman from the 2nd District, yes, is it Patoka?
Thanks for coming.
Not only is he here with us, but I believe he's arranged for these proceedings, to be videotaped. So I just want to make you aware of the fact that there is a videotape off to my left.
Live stream.
Live streamed. Not only videotape, but live streamed. Okay. So this evening, we ask your assistance, cooperation, and respect throughout this hearing. Can everyone hear me? Okay. I'm feeling like it may not be loud enough, so hold on a moment. I usually speak pretty loud. That's better, right? There we go. Okay. Now I don't have to yell. Okay, let me start again. We ask your assistance, cooperation, and respect throughout this hearing. The speakers who have signed up will each be given a total of 2 minutes to present their position on any of the issues in the 2nd District. If you wish to speak and have not signed up, the registration will be open for another 15 minutes. I will call 3 speakers at a time and ask that you come forward and please take a seat, preferably on this front row, so that you will be able to make your presentation. At times, I may actually call 6, but I would ask you to come forward and be present and be ready. Please begin by clearly stating your name, your organization, the issue number, as well as your exact position. I'm going to repeat that. Please state your name, your issue number, and if you represent an organization, that organization, and your exact position, whether you support or you oppose the proposed change. We ask that the audience refrain from making any comments, positive or negative, or any displays of any kind while others are speaking. The Planning Board will be using a visual electronic timer for the speakers. This will help the speakers utilize their 2 minutes efficiently and ensure we have enough time for all of the interested parties to address the Planning Board. If you have a large group present to support your community or your organization's position, the Planning Board requests that you have everyone stand in support as a few speakers state the reason for your position rather than all of the members of your organization providing repetitive comments. I'm going to repeat that. We ask that everyone stand, but that only a few speakers state the reason for your position rather than all of the members of your organization. Everyone registered will be given an opportunity to speak. However, the Planning Board reserves the right to further limit comments and presentations in lieu of or in addition to your testimony. Written comments may be presented to the planning staff table. Following the completion of our 7 hearings in March, the Planning Board will review the issues and relevant information and make our recommendations to the County Council. The Planning Board schedule is posted on the Planning Department's website. The County Council will then hold its own public hearings in June with a scheduled vote on Tuesday, August the 25th, 2020 at 6 p.m. Thank you for your attendance, your cooperation, and respect for your fellow citizens. Again, remember to please begin by clearly stating your name, organization, the issue number, as well as your precise position on the issue. This evening as we begin, and I'm looking for the remainder of our sign-up sheets. We currently have 65 individuals. I expect that number to grow before the 6:15 hour, but I want to make you all aware. So, our first 3 speakers, and then the second 3 that I'd like to come forward, Arthur Apperstein, Joseph Medved, Jeffrey Scher. And if you could also join Patricia Gordon, Joe Gordon, and Jerry Mayer.
Can you hear me?
Yes. You should not have to, you shouldn't have to touch the mic.
Good evening, members of the Baltimore County Planning Board.
Hold on one moment, Mr. Everson. Go right ahead.
Start over.
Yes.
Good evening, members of the Baltimore County Planning Board. My name is Arthur Alperstein, and I'm here to request a zoning change for the Woodhome Country Club at its location on the corner of Reisterstown Road and Woodhome Avenue. It's 2-018. I'm the first vice president of the club. Today, country clubs are closing all over the country. Here in Baltimore County, we've lost several country clubs for various reasons, and they've closed all over the county. In Dundalk, 2 over in our area in the recent past. At Woodhome, we have a lot of open space, but we have a slither of land on Reisterstown Road at the corner of Woodhome Avenue and Reisterstown Road. The other 3 corners are already zoned retail or commercial. You've got a gas station, you've got J. Brown Jewelry, and you've got a bank. We would like to convert, it's a very small slither that we want to use. From our standpoint, when we're on our property, there's a big mound that if you hit a golf ball over it, it's out of bounds anyway. So we're not losing any open space from ours. As far as Reisterstown Road, I've already indicated that it's retail anyway. And my thinking is, if you're not going to zone what is already retailed on 3 of the corners to give us the opportunity to enhance our property by the rezoning classification, when else would there be? It's not like you're moving where houses are. We're only asking for what is already zoned that way on 3 of the corners to grant us the same. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker. We're having a little bit of a challenge. Mr. Medved, please go forward.
Hi, Stephen Ferranti, on behalf of Joseph and Mary Ellen Medved. I'm the president of Maryland Land Advisors. I also represent them in the sale of this property.
Could you, please say your name again?
Sure. Stephen Ferrandi, Ferrandi. And the issue number is 2-027. So I've given you an exhibit of several photographs of the subject property and the surrounding area. The subject property sits on Wabash Avenue under the bridge in Glendon. So if you were going over the bridge, this would be the property to the right and below the bridge. It backs to railroad tracks, it sides to the bridge, it sides to the other side to a school bus yard, and it fronts to a culvert with a stream running through it. It's zoned density residential 3-5. We think that zone is not warranted, it's a mistake. It was zoned ML some years ago. The adjacent property is a school bus yard, also rezoned, but now it's a non-conforming use to store school buses in it. And adjacent to the school bus yard is a warehouse for moving vans. We're asking for this property to be zoned ML, so it can also be used for outdoor storage of vehicles. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Jeffrey Scher. I'm here on issue 2-028. I represent the Shapiro family, which are the owners of the property, which is the subject matter of 028. I'm here to request that the property not be rezoned, as noted, from a combination of DR1, DR2, and DR35 to DR1, that it not be rezoned to DR1. The property is 53.11 acres and is currently record platted. It has been record platted since at least 2015. It is record platted for 45 single homes, and the balance of the property, in addition to those 45 single homes, is forest buffer
forest conservation, and HOA space. Under the existing zoning, the Shapiros could have record platted the property for over 100 homes. Shapiros have been good neighbors and have only record platted the property for 45 homes. 32 of those homes are already constructed and people are living in those homes. And there are only 13 properties or lots left to be occupied. The rezoning to DR1 has been an issue before this board since 2012, and given the existing record plat, there is no greater reason to rezone to DR1 than there was in 2012 and 2016. I will note that the issue, as noted in the log, says that it is 54.47 acres, but the property at issue here is 53.11 acres. The other 1.36 acres are owned by an unrelated party and is just off of Old Court Road to the east of the Shapiro property. I will leave with you a plat which demonstrates that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So for everyone, we apologize. We're going to move this to the middle. Hopefully we'll get a little less feedback. Our next three speakers, Patricia Gordon, Joe Gordon, Jerry Meyer. And I would ask Kurt Davis, Jeffrey Butnitz, and Michael Ruby to please come forward. Ms. Gordon.
Okay, I'm Patricia Gordon. I put in zoning request 2-012. 24 Woodley Avenue is my address. Want to change the zoning from DR 3.5 to DR2. The neighborhood is roughly 20 acres. It consists of Stocksdale Avenue, Woodley Avenue, and Dean Avenue behind historic Main Street. It has been zoned DR 3.5 since at least the mid-1970s. I don't know why. This is one of the oldest neighborhoods in Reisterstown. There are 17 houses on those 20 acres. Most houses have close to an acre of property. Few houses have 2 acres or more, and the smallest is about a half an acre. Most houses in this neighborhood are over 60 years old. There are a few that are 100 years old. It is more appropriately DR2 zoning. Recently, a developer tried to put 13 houses on roughly 2.5 acres in this neighborhood. The neighbors fought it, and the developer was denied. Now we're going through the appeal process. We do not want to have to fight a developer every time a piece of property in this neighborhood goes up for sale simply because the zoning is DR 3.5. That DR 3.5 zoning is inappropriate. Many neighbors have already sent an email to Councilman Patoka to show their support of this zoning request. So I respectfully request that you change the zoning in this neighborhood from DR 3.5 to DR2. This is also tied to Councilman Patoka's request for 2-031, I think it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Joe Gordon.
My name is Joe Gordon, and I live at 14 Roaches Lane in Reisterstown. I'm here to speak on zoning request 2-002 and oppose this rezoning for a gas station / car service facility to be developed at 11711 Reisterstown Road, which property backs up to the rear of my property. We are now facing to have our quiet neighborhood and property values ruined by the development of a gas station car service facility in our backyard. This will be detrimental in bringing noise, trash, crime, light pollution, and constant foot traffic into and through our properties. Just within a 1.5-mile stretch of Reisterstown Road, we have 8 gas stations. They are the Royal Farm Store gas station on Delight Road, the Giant gas station in the Cherry Valley Shopping Center, Reisterstown, Sunoco, Exxon Station, Shell Station, the Wawa, the Dash Inn on Main Street, and another Royal Farm Store at the corner of Main Street and Route 30. Do we really need another gas station in Reisterstown? In the same stretch of Reisterstown Road, we have 6 auto service centers. They are the Monroe Auto Service and Tire Center in the Giant parking lot, Goodyear Auto Service, Mr. Tire Auto Service on Reisterstown Road, Bransfield Motor Company, Reisterstown Car Care, and ProCare Auto on Main Street. Do we really need another auto service center in Reisterstown? We are already experiencing problems with the people of these properties, as they have been cited twice by Baltimore County Code Enforcement for working on cars on properties with no licenses. We have had to hear noisy air-compressed tire changers, engines being revved as high as possible, and constant trash being left behind, which blows into our properties.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Thank you. Jerry Mayer.
My name's Jerry Mayer. I live on Woodbox Lane in Pikesville, 21209, and I'm here in reference to CZMP 003, which is the issue of St. Mark's Episcopal Church property at the corner, on the northwest corner of Old Court and Reisterstown Road. It's a lower level piece of property. It's behind the mattress, now empty, mattress store and Sunrise. And we've asked for a zoning change from the current OR1 to an RAE2. The intention is to build workforce housing, which is needed for the affordable housing type jobs for firefighters, policemen, et cetera, and would support all of the businesses of Pikesville. Now, I grew up and was baptized at St. Mark's Church, and the entire, in my lifetime, that church, which has actually been there since 1887, has been very involved in community outreach and serves the Pikesville community for a long, long time. And it's important to us that we be able to continue our outreach and take this property. We're working with both the Episcopal Housing Corporation and CHI to build this property. It's going to be consistent with the buildings in this area, and I know there'll be issues perhaps with traffic and schools, but I think that given the number of houses and apartments that might be in this, that it would be minimal effect on traffic and elementary schools and so forth. So, thank you.
Thank you. Kurt Davis. Following that, we have Jeffrey Butnitz, Michael Ruby, Edna Dorsey, John Madden, Daniel McCarthy. Mr. Davis.
Good evening. My name is Kurt Davis, and I'm president of the Lake Roland Nature Council. I'm here on behalf of the Nature Council to testify that we are opposed to the zoning changes proposed for issue 2038, 2039, and issue 2040. The Nature Council supports the Planning Office's recommendations of leaving the current zoning unchanged. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name is Jeffrey Budnitz. I'm here to provide testimony as a private citizen and not as a board member of the Ruxton Riderwood Lake Roland Area Improvement Association or the Lake Roland Nature Council. I'm here to oppose zoning changes submitted for the aforereferenced CZMP issues 2-025, 032, 036, 037, 038, 039, and 040. I support the Department of Planning staff recommendation of no change for all of these issues I've referenced, in particular for parcels that have primary sewer pipes running through them. Several of the parcels are already protected wetlands and floodplains. The application of the Neighborhood Commons designation based on amendments that have occurred to that designation from 2011 to 2017 could possibly make the process of sewer rehabilitation more difficult, a rehabilitation process that produces a positive environmental outcome. Thank you.
Mr. Budnitz, I want to be clear. You oppose the requested zoning change?
I do, and I support planning's recommendation for each one of those items, and I've submitted my testimony at the desk with copies for you.
And those were two, let me make sure, and if I miss one, you let me know. 2025, 2032, 2036, 2037, 2038, 2039, and 2040.
Correct, and I did go fast for your benefit. So
Thank you.
Yep.
Michael Ruby.
I'm Michael Ruby on issues 29 and 30, supporting the proposed changes. 10 years ago, we had flip phones and marveled at the freedom and functions they provided. 10 years from now, despite being ubiquitous, indispensable, and addictive, our smartphones will be gone, replaced by wearables, tiny devices that can call 911 if you're having a heart attack, monitor your food intake so you stay on your diet, even alert you if you're driving fatigued and should pull over. 10 years from now, traffic congestion will be a thing of the past because less than 20% of us will own our own cars. Instead, we will be hailing self-driving electric ride shares that talk with passing billboards, selling us everything, automatically connecting us online, and paying for it with our e-wallets. Our packages will be delivered by drones, our meals custom created by 3D printers, and doctor's visits will be replaced by automated exams. Press here if you have a headache. Tonight, you are pondering zoning requests that will determine Baltimore County's growth patterns for the next 4 years. Big deal. But even now, you can glimpse the immediate future and should conclude that Baltimore County does not need any new gasoline stations, and instead needs some adaptive reuses for the empty service stations that will soon stand as tombstones to the fossil fuel era and become eyesores in every community. When it comes to issues 29 and 30, keep your eyes on the road ahead and not on the rearview mirror. Yes, there will be more change in the next 20 years than in the past 100. And be forewarned, 20 years from now, we could be on the brink of the next American Civil War because the U.S. Constitution will have become obsolete. By 2040, 70% of Americans will be living in only 15 states. And the rest of us will not abide being governed by the 70 senators who represent less than 1/3 of the population.
Thank you, Mr. Ruby. Okay. Thank you, sir. Edna Dorsey, John Madden, Daniel McCarthy, followed by Julia Fritz, Ellen Jarrett, and Shira London. Go right ahead, Ms. Dorsey.
My name is Edna Dorsey. My number is 2024. I'm here to oppose the involving the 3 parcels built on the land located between Chicory Hill Lane and Bracken Ridge Lane. My family built his first house in 1899, and there are 11 of us family members still live there, and we are concerned about what this building will do to this family-oriented neighborhood, and we oppose it.
Thank you, ma'am. That was 2024. John Madden.
Good evening. My name's John Madden. I also am here to oppose the rezoning of issue 2024. We have enough apartment buildings around us now. We once had a pretty quiet, decent neighborhood, but it's increased so much that we sit there in the morning for 10 or 15 minutes to get off of L Street on Chicory Hill Lane to get on Scotts Level Road. We don't need any more traffic up there. We don't want it and we don't need it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Daniel McCarthy. 2003, correct?
Correct. My name is Daniel McCarthy. I'm with the Episcopal Housing Corporation, and I'm here in favor of 2003. So this is a request about the future, the past and the future of Pikesville. So this issue would allow St. Mark's Church to sell land to produce income that would allow them to renovate their church and their parish hall. Two nonprofits who are undertaking this, Episcopal Housing Corporation and CHI, will build housing that will meet the needs of the low-paid workers that are living in Pikesville. We think that this would be a huge benefit to both the community associations, the business district, who will have increased participation from folks that will be living in these houses. So we've had extensive conversations with the community associations. We've taken many of their suggestions. We believe we have a better project based on that. So we would ask you to support this zoning change, and we will make a project that will make Pikesville proud. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Julia Fritz, Ellen Jarrett, Shira London. Next, I'd ask to come forward Louis Letter, Ward Klassen, and Michael Lowenstein. Julia Fritz.
Chairman, board members, my name is Reverend Julia Fritz. I'm priest in charge at St. Mark's on the Hill Episcopal Church in Pikesville on Reisterstown Road, and I rise in strong support of our application for issue number 2-003. This change in zoning would allow us to sell a roughly 2.5-acre parcel of our land to build workforce affordable housing, along with Episcopal Housing Corporation and CHI, benefiting the church, the Pikesville community, and Baltimore County. St. Mark's, the pretty church on the hill, has been a steady and important presence in Pikesville since actually 1877. Representing the multicultural face of Baltimore County, we're proud to have one of the most diverse congregations in the diocese, affirming our mission to serve as a home for everyone. In alignment with that mission, our hope is to build lovely, affordable housing for the workforce of Pikesville who cannot afford market rental rates. Their presence with us in Pikesville would be a blessing to the stores and restaurants in the area. The sale of this parcel of land is critical to the future of St. Mark's Church for renovation in order to serve the community for another 150 years through its programs and outreach ministries, as well as to provide much-needed gathering spaces for the entire community. We would easily sell the land to a wide variety of commercial users, but offering workforce affordable housing fits with our passion and our mission. Lastly, Baltimore County entered into a voluntary compliance agreement to widen the choices of affordable housing, especially in areas just like Pikesville. This creative partnership of St. Mark's, CHI, and EHC would offer real benefit to all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ellen Jarrett.
Hi, I'm Ellen Jarrett, and we are in support of 2003. CHI is a nonprofit housing and community development organization working in Northwest Baltimore City and Baltimore County. We are in full support of this rezoning request for part of St. Mark's property. We have been actively involved in Pikesville for over 30 years. We are an adjacent property owner with 3 apartment buildings, Weinberg Gardens, Terrace, and House, directly across the street from this property. Many of the employees of our developments would qualify for this proposed housing for workforce, but it requires rezoning. We know the continued operation of St. Mark's Church, a critical part of this community, relies on this important change and this important housing. So we support this change. Thank you.
Thank you. Louis Letter, Ward Klassen, Michael Lowenstein. And then we will have Elaine Lowenstein, Alan Zuckerberg, and Mark Sapp. Louis Letter, please come forward.
Hi, my name is Louis Leader. I live across the street from Royal Farms. I am against Royal Farms getting a gas station, which is 2011, I believe. Smith Avenue and Pimlico Road is a very congested area. We have school children crossing the road, tons of traffic in the morning and afternoon. We've had a recent death from a pedestrian death there. This is a representative water bottle. The actual water bottle has been taken off a tree. The water bottle was carried by a motorcyclist that was hit on Amley, crossing Smith, by a car coming out from Royal Farms. I actually don't know what happened to her, but we hung up the water bottle to remind us of this accident that's happened over there. Again, Royal Farms has 3 entrances. We believe a gas station there would converge cars from all different areas into these 3 entrances to buy gas. And we really believe that it'll cause much more accidents. Now, Royal Farms is a small lot. There are tons of cars and huge trucks that come in there. There are they cut lumber, those trucks, Lewis trucks that cut lumber. Their own trucks block one entrance right across the street from me that's backed up all the time in the morning, causing people to go to different exits. It's a very congested area. We have kids crossing. One left turn going into Royal Farms causes tremendous backups all the way down to Green Spring Avenue. And we have many people who would please stand up. I forgot to ask them to please stand up.
You don't have to worry. They've stood up.
Oh, great. Thank you. We love you.
We got a couple of friends with you.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. We all are against it because it's a residential area. We were here, it was originally a restaurant, then Hilltop Grocery, Royal Farms comes in.
Understood, Mr. Letter.
Thank you very much.
And I think I may have missed Ms. Shira London. My apologies, Ms. London.
Thank you. My name is Shira London, and I am part of a neighborhood coalition that opposes issue 2-011, which would allow a new Royal Farms gas station on Old Pimlico and Smith. I've brought a petition signed by over 1,000 of our neighbors. The 2 most common words you will see in the comment section of this petition are residential area, because that's the key issue. It's not a shopping center where a gas station would make sense. It was a residential area 60 years ago, too, when my parents purchased a home a block from where Royal Farms is now. 30 years later, my husband and I bought a house down the street from my parents, close to Old Pimlico. When we put everything we had into buying that house, we never could have guessed that anyone was going to try and put in a gas station so close to our front door. The over 1,000 people on this petition feel strongly that their health and safety would be compromised by a gas station. They use words like strongly oppose, very concerned, and completely and totally oppose. They speak of pollution, danger, and crime. One man said he had already been robbed at gunpoint in the Royal Farms parking lot. So I'd like to ask the planning board one simple question. If you were going to buy a house and you had the choice of 2 locations, one of which was right near a gas station, which would you choose? Would you choose to put your children and yourselves at risk? I think there is no doubt that everyone wants to protect their families. We ask you now to protect ours. Thank you, Councilman Patoka and members of the Planning Board, for listening to our concerns.
Thank you, Ms. London.
May I take the last 15 seconds just to say something? We've had, from the police precinct...
I would love to, but we can't do that. I'm sorry.
Thanks.
Ward Clausen.
Good evening. My name is Ward Klassen. I'm president of the Ruxton Riderwood Lake Roland Improvement Association, and I'm here as president of the organization. What we'd like to put on the record is that we support the retention of the RC7 zoning for parcel and issue 2038 Lakeside Drive and Falls Road, as it's consistent with the restrictive RC7 zoning of the Lake Roland Park, which our association supported in 2004. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Michael Lowenstein.
Good evening. My name is Mike Lowenstein, and I am in opposition to issue 2-011. I've been living at the corner of Smith Avenue and Emily Road, directly opposite Royal Farms, for the past 48 years. My wife and I are part of a neighborhood coalition which strongly opposes the petition by Royal Farms to rezone the area, thereby allowing for the construction of a gas station. We have been awakened many times during the night as a result of extremely loud noise, not knowing what was occurring only a few feet from our home. We often called the police, who have been most responsive, and in more than one occasion, our call resulted in an arrest. I would like to share with you some crime statistics provided by the police department. In 2017, there were 5 cases. However, in 2018, things got a lot worse. 13 cases, 7 of which were robbery, 6 were assaults, trespassing, and destruction of property. 5 involved a handgun or knife, and 9 resulted in arrest. 2019, 14 cases, 9 of which were robbery, and 5 involved drugs, assault, and a bomb threat. 3 with a handgun or knife, and 10 resulted in arrest. And just this past Saturday morning at 4:40 a.m., an unknown suspect entered Royal Farms with a handgun, stole money, and fled. So at the Royal Farms convenience store during the past 2 years, there has been more than 1 serious incident a month, not a reassuring situation. I shudder to think what the dreaded addition of a gas station would add to the crime rate in our neighborhood. The petition by Royal Farms for a gas station is based solely on the concept of making more money, whereas the opposition to this proposal is based on a more noble concept of ensuring the safety and character of our residential neighborhood. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Elaine Lowenstein.
Hi. Elaine Lowenstein. I'm also speaking on 2011. I'm speaking on behalf of Richard Klein, who's president of the Community Environmental Defense Services, who is sick, and will state his recommendations of denial of rezoning petition 2011. There's a large and growing body of scientific evidence that benzene and other compounds released to the air during refueling and from gasoline storage tanks increases the likelihood of adverse health effects, which range from nausea to cancer to low birth rate. There's no control measures required for new gas stations that can reliably resolve the threat to public health. The research shows that those spending a large amount of time within 500 feet of a gas station are at greater risk, particularly children and older adults. Therefore, the most effective measure at present is to guide new gas stations to sites where they're at least 500 feet from homes, schools, and other sensitive land uses. However, adverse health effects may extend as far as 1,000 feet. Baltimore County zoning regulations only require a 100-foot safety zone between gas stations, but not tank and residential zone properties. There are 40 homes in Chabad Center within 500 feet of the Royal Farms and several hundred homes more within 1,000 feet. There are 10 existing gas stations within 3 miles of Royal Farms, so there's little need for another gas station in our area. In addition to adverse health effects, home resale value could decline during the difficulty of obtaining an FHA-backed mortgage when homes are within 300 feet of gas station tanks. It is for these reasons that I urge the Planning Board to recommend denial of petition 2011 that would rezone the Royal Farms property to automotive services. Thank you very much.
Alan Zuckerberg, Mark Sapp, Linda Schwartz, Elaine Gitlin, and Michael Whitfield.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. It's a direct
Before you
mic.
start the clock, I have a preliminary question.
We are concerned that Mr. Perlow is a member of the Woodhome Country Club, and we would like the board to consider whether he should be involved in the decision-making on that issue. That's 2.018.
Thank you, sir. You can proceed.
And also, Mr. Perlow, if you would take care of signage that's sometimes around your borders or on your property, we'd appreciate it.
Excuse me, sir, if you could just address the chair. Appreciate it.
Okay. I'm Alan Zuckerberg. I represent the Pikesville Communities Corporation. We are an entity representing 17 homeowner associations that represent over 2,700 households in the Pikesville area. We are opposed to 03, 05, 06, 14. We're okay with 16. We're against 18 and 19. For decades, Baltimore...
Hold on, sir, could you say those again? And which ones you support and which ones you oppose?
We oppose 3, 5, 6, 14, 18, and 19, and we're all right with 16.
Let me repeat that again. You oppose 3, 5, 6, 14, 18, 19. You support 16. You also oppose 14.
That's correct.
Okay. Go right ahead, sir.
Is this what I have left, or?
No, if I interrupted you, please...
That's fine. I appreciate it. For decades, Baltimore County and state officials neglected our area for the benefit of White Marsh, Towson, and Owings Mills, Newtown. A number of these issues seek zoning that will promote the further demise of the Pikesville commercial corridor, which will result in the demise of the surrounding communities. In fact, the county's newly published draft of the Pikesville Revitalization Action Plan states in part under the Executive Summary Plan Purpose, quote, "The Pikesville CRD has been largely neglected and the area's aesthetic decline is apparent throughout the district. Several recommendations were outlined in previous plans, but without funding and actively engaged leadership. Many were never addressed or became unfeasible," end quote. The neglect that has occurred is apparent from the lack of beauty, attractive retail, and amenities in Pikesville. The area around and including Festival at Woodhome is a challenge, and so is traversing Green Tree Road at Hooks Lane. We are sympathetic to a number of requests made, including those claiming financial hardship, and we are in communication with some of the applicants and hope that by the time of the County Council hearing in June, we have reached mutually beneficial recordable agreements addressing our concerns. Anything done otherwise that we've recommended may well be in conflict with the ultimate revitalization plan. Finally, you should be looking to see if carrying out this current CZM process complies with county law. I'll be happy to address that at another time. And I think people above me have raised up in support.
Thank you, Mr. Zuckerberg. I've given you a little deference. Thank you, sir. Mark Sapp.
Hello, my name is Mark Sapp. I speak in favor of issue 2-16. I am the Vice President of the Colonial Village Neighborhood Improvement Association. The southwest side of Reisterstown Road at the corner of Reisterstown and Clodagh Road is the main entrance to our neighborhood. We request that the green space located in this area be changed to residential neighborhood commons. In the early 1980s, Baltimore County relocated Colonial Road so that it would line up with 7 Mile Lane, eliminating a traffic light on Reisterstown Road. Baltimore County, working with Colonial Village, developed and implemented a landscape plan for the area located on both sides of the new road, including the original Colonial Road right-of-way. They agreed that the area would remain a green space with the condition that Colonial Village be responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of the area. From the 1980s to the present, time, Colonial Village has paid for the maintenance of the green space. During the summer of 2019, Colonial Village discovered that the green space was zoned BL and BLAS. This is not an appropriate zoning for neighborhood green space. Colonial Village requests that the green space zoning be changed to DR 55NC. We have searched the Maryland State Department of Assessments and Taxation website and did not find any record of anyone owning the original Colonial Road right-of-way, nor did we find any records of anyone paying Maryland State property tax on the property. For decades, the residents of Colonial Village and Baltimore County have been able to enjoy the green space at the corner of Reisterstown and Colonial Roads, approving the zoning requested to ensure future generations can enjoy the green space. Thank you,
Mr. Sapp. Linda Schwartz.
Good evening. My name is Linda Schwartz, and I am representing the pavilion in the park. We are members of the PCC, and I am opposing issue 2-003. We have been advised that St. Mark's on the Hill Episcopal Church is having financial problems and has entered into an agreement to sell 2.4 acres to High and Episcopal Housing Corporation for housing that has been characterized in different ways. Some have called it low income, some call it subsidized, affordable, or subsidized senior housing, and in a letter from the potential purchasers, it has been characterized as workforce housing apartments. Regardless of how it is characterized, whether for seniors, non-seniors, or people in the workforce, we believe that the Pikesville area is saturated with this type of housing and that allowing more of this will have an adverse economic effect when current efforts are being made to revitalize the Pikesville area. At this time, we do not believe that workforce housing apartments are needed in the area proposed. We perceive the Pikesville area from the city line to McDonough Road to lack such commercial facilities that would require this type of workforce housing. As you are aware, Reisterstown Road has major bus routes and is parallel to the metro line. So transportation for persons needing for work in this area who do not otherwise live in the Pikesville area is abundantly available. In fact, we believe that this type of housing is already saturated in our area and may indeed have an adverse economic impact. The county executive's attempt to infuse this type of housing throughout the area should recognize that Pikesville has more than its share. Thank you.
Thank you. Elaine Gitlin, Michael Whitfield, Barry Silverman, Harry Beatsman, and Arnold Hopper. Ms. Gitlin, go right ahead.
My name is Elaine Gitlin, and I represent a pavilion in the park and PCC. I am opposed to the issue 2-003 as well. We are sympathetic with St. Mark's need for monies to help it maintain its purpose as a religious institution in Pikesville. However, the proposed type of housing is plentiful, and there is no further need for that type of housing and density on the church property. There are 3 Weinberg houses in close proximity to the church's land. In fact, they are diagonally located across Old Court Road. Additionally, we understand that the McDonough Village, Pomona, Ralston, Colonial Village, St. Charles Church, Queen Anne's Village, Waterstone Apartments, and Woods Apartments on Hooks Lane are communities that either are voucher programs or other types of subsidies or charge lower rental amounts for lower income residents. We also believe that such housing may be found as one goes further down Old Court Road. Certainly, many of these units house persons who are in the local workforce. Additional negative factors impacting this zoning change include enough to warrant denial of the request. The Department of Public Works has reported the sewer sub-interceptor is near capacity. Also, there is a lack of school facilities. Millbrook Elementary School, which has a capacity of 322 and an enrollment of 394, is already fully overcrowded. And finally, traffic in the area is very dense at many hours. This zoning change would exacerbate the portion of that already heavily traveled Reisterstown Road corridor at that location. It is also noteworthy that the Economics and Workforce Agency responded to the question with, quotes, no comment. How can that possibly be? How can such an agency suggest that this type of development will have no economic effect on the area? We are sensitive to St. Mark's plight and suggest that perhaps Baltimore County should be looking to provide sorely lacking amenities to our area. area. One way to do that is to consider buying the acreage in question for use as a public park and playground.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell. I have to move on. Michael Whitfield.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the panel. Thank you for your time and your diligence. I'm here to speak on issue 2-005. I serve as the Vice President of Pikesville Communities Corporation, which, as Mr. Zuckerberg mentioned, now represents some 2,700 homes in the Pikesville area. 2005 is, in essence, a zoning application which is an effort to forgive the transgressions of the past 5 years. A company acquired this property and performed an illegal conversion on it. It is a residential property. It always has been since 1932. Currently, we know of 3 companies that are operating out of there. You will see a handout with a great deal more detail, which I submitted to the board earlier this evening. There are 3 mailboxes. At first we thought it was a frat house. The property is so well secluded, I'm sure it was actually chosen for its location. It is impossible to see what goes on back there. They have a 1,700-foot long drive, but they are running construction equipment in and out, heavy trucks, construction materials. Frankly, if a rezoning is passed by this board, or an agency in the county recommends it, all I can say is that it will set a precedent for similarly unlawful conversions, and will no doubt support the theory that it's easier to get forgiveness than permission instead of doing the right thing from scratch. And that's it. I yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Barry Silverman, to be followed by Harry Beatman, Arnold Poplar. I'd ask Habib Sartipi, Aubrey Johnson, and Bruce Blumenthal to come forward. Mr. Silverman, go right ahead.
Good evening. My name is Barry Silverman. I am Executive Director of the Pikesville Communities Corporation. I'm speaking to issue number 2-006, which is the request of the Suburban Club for zoning of RAE1 and BLCCC. The RAE1 is requested on 12-plus acres of its land, and the BL is included for a 50-foot wide strip to go to Reisterstown Road in order to justify the RAE1 zoning, so it's connected to the town center. The BLCCC also includes the clubhouse. We are opposed to the zoning change because it is too dense and piecemeal, not taking into account the future of the remaining portions of the club's land. Currently, we are negotiating with a representative of the club and would like to reach an agreement before the county council makes its decision in this matter. We are sympathetic to Suburban's financial concerns. Unfortunately, we are not aware of any action that the club has taken to ally itself with community concerns, specifically the dangerous flooding conditions that take place at the intersection of Stevenson Road, Old Court Road, and Park Heights Avenue, the claim by the firemen to have a car wash, and the ugly maintenance area that shows on Sudbrook Lane. We would like Suburban to join us in formulating an overall plan addressing the future of its land and consider, instead of its current request, the rezoning of the corner near Sudbrook Lane and Reisterstown Road that may return more to them and help to start reinvigorating Pikesville. Now is the time to address these concerns before any benefit is bestowed to Suburban. Thank you.
Thank you. Harry Beatman.
Good evening. My name is Harry Braffman. I live at 7925 Long Meadow Road. I represent Pikesville Community Corporation, and I'm here for issue 2-014. We appreciate Blue Ocean's transparency in dealing with us during its request to the design review panel. During these proceedings, it's been made clear that Blue Ocean intends to place more intense commercial uses on its property. It has already added another ballroom on the land. We understand that the zoning it now requests is for the purpose of allowing 100 or so additional residential units to be built upon its property at Reisterstown Road and the Beltway. We've considered this in light of what else is happening in this area and must at this time oppose this request. The reasons for our opposition are as follows. Without any restrictions, the applicant could use this already densely located property to create more problems. We understand that directly across Reisterstown Road, a Royal Farms facility is to go in where the motel is currently located. That facility will, we believe, contain a convenience store and gasoline pumps. We are aware that a convenience store by such entities as Royal Farms or Wawa are large and that gasoline pumps add to traffic at the intersection as well. We are also aware that just above the Beltway on Reisterstown Road, the Woodham Country Club is seeking BMAS zoning. Traffic in this immediate area is a problem at this time, and we propose that this 2020 CZMP issue be denied and that Blue Ocean look to the 2024 CZMP, a time when we may all be better able to assess what the impact has been to this intersection. Thank you for your time.
Arnold Potler.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your patience. I'd like to address issue 2018, the Woodhome Country Club. My name is Arnold Potler. I live on Terrapin Road and represent PCC. Please see our comments regarding Blue Ocean issue 2-014. This BMAS zoning request applied to 5.5 acres of land appears to us to be for the purpose of a Royal Farms or Wawa type operation, or perhaps some strip center. However, in light of our explanation regarding issue 2.014, the current condition of the commercial area, the problems at the festival and so on, and what else is happening on Reisterstown Road, BMAS is not appropriate. We have recently been in communication with Woodhome. We may concede to recommending BL for a portion of the property fronting on Reisterstown Road. We hope to be in further discussion with the Woodhome to resolve our differences, and that may require negotiating restrictive covenants. We're sympathetic to Woodhome's claim of financial concerns and would like to see some result that benefits Woodhome and the communities. However, at this time, we can't make any recommendation except to deny the applicant's request, and we will be pleased to continue discussion with Woodhome. Thank you.
Thank you. Before Habib Sartipi, is there a Chaz Esvine? Ms. Esvine, if you could come up as well. Mr. Habib Sartipi.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Habib Sartipi. I'm the owner of 9925 Reisterstown Road. My issue number is 2-010. I just want to let you guys know I bought this property in 1995. Since that time to now, I tried to change the zone. I tried a few times, but this time I think I asked him for it because the whole neighborhood got changed. My zoning is RO, and my next door gonna be Wawa and gas station, bank, and also the shopping center behind me. And I just came here to say I support that Wawa to come, and also my next door neighbor Kenny Apps, he's here for a State Farm Insurance, and we both asked him to change his zoning for BR. I own locksmith, and I try to build a shop as in something very nice to help in the neighborhood and also this community. And thank you for your time, and thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, sir. Aubrey Johnson. Aubrey Johnson. Bruce Blumenthal.
Hello, my name is Bruce Blumenthal. I live at 6607 Pimlico Road, 3 houses south of the Pimlico Road, Smith Avenue intersection. I'm here to address issue 2-011, and I strongly oppose a gas station at this location. In the 34 years at which I've lived in this house, I've seen a rather quiet residential neighborhood transform into a more active, vibrant residential neighborhood. And as a neighbor and family physician, I wish to expand upon the health hazards of placing a gas station at this Royal Farms. Aromatic hydrocarbons, specifically benzene and toluene, are intrinsic gasoline vapors, and even the most sophisticated vapor control devices are inadequate to provide protection. It's scientifically agreed that there is no safe or acceptable level of benzene to inhale. I reiterate, 0. Benzene is known to cause pediatric lymphoma, low birth weight pregnancy, central nervous system, and respiratory illness. Toluene is associated with cardiac arrhythmias, renal, and liver disease. Unfortunately, underground gasoline tanks required to store the gas until dispensed must be vented to the outdoors. And a recent study showed that vapor emissions from these tanks can be 10 times greater, I reiterate, 10 times greater than estimates that heretofore have been deemed acceptable in setback regulations to determine proximity to playgrounds, schools, and parks. Yet Royal Farms abuts a synagogue with a playground used by children of various ages and abuts many residential homes. Studies have shown that living close to gas stations increase adverse health outcomes in both children and adults.
Thank you, Mr. Blumenthal.
I thank the board for listening to this, and I thank Mr. Patoka for joining us.
I'm going to invite up Chaz Esvine, and I apologize, your name was dropped off of the list. Just give me 1 second. We're going to ask Patty Mokel, Cheryl Seidman, Alan Davis, Naomi Weinstein, Liz Davis, and Scott Slater to please come forward. Okay, Mr. Esvine, and you were on 2019?
Yes, sir. My name is Chaz Ezra. I'm with the PCC, and I'm talking about issue number 2-019. We are opposed to this request by what we believe to be the Green and Bound organization. This is at the Reisterstown Road in Castleton/Keller Avenue. This area is of great concern to the communities. In the past, the County Council, at the bequest of Councilwoman Vicki Almond, allowed for a PUD at this property. This should not have been allowed. Green Tree has seen the county allow another subdivision by the Trinitarian property. At the community input meeting, the PUD, the developer, advised the community that although it has the right to enter into Green Tree, it does not their intent to enter or exit on the Green Tree. The words "not our intent" are not the same as we will not enter into a restrictive covenant to bar future ingress and egress onto Green Tree Road. Further, the layout of this entire area is abysmal and the traffic is horrendous. Developer has also advised that it will be looking for a variance to reduce the required parking from 350 spaces to about 150 spaces. This is an area that is already overburdened. We suggest that this area that is contiguous to the housing and the continuous into a close proximity of the Light Bridge and Medical Building Complex not be upzoned, and that it should be downzoned to all residential. Thank you.
Thank you. Patty Mokel.
I'm Pat Mokel from the Green Towson Alliance. I'm speaking in support of District 2 issues 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 39, and 40.
Slow down a little bit.
Okay. Want me to say them again?
Yes, please.
Okay. 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 39, and 40. These properties are all located along county streams and have current zoning designations ranging from DR1 to DR16, and they total roughly 92 acres of land. On larger properties, the current zoning would allow density development that, with an environmental waiver, could encroach on the required forest buffers. Assembling a number of these smaller properties together could enable the same thing. In essence, this rezoning expands and protects many of the forest buffers in Baltimore County. Forest buffers provide vital ecosystem functions by filtering surface pollutants that wash off impervious surfaces so they don't enter our streams. They slow the flow of stormwater, reduce erosion along stream banks. Nutrients from eroded stream banks are a major source of pollution in our open waters. Forest buffers also shade streams, keeping the water at the needed temperature for the survival of aquatic creatures that live in those streams. All of the land except some portions of Issue 33 is publicly owned property. The sale of these properties for development is unlikely, but it is not impossible. Therefore, we feel the added protection of the neighborhood common zoning is warranted to protect our water quality. We oppose Issue 38 because we support the missions of the Lake Roland Nature Council. We feel the currently zoned RC7 has adequate protection.
Thank you. Cheryl Seidman.
My name is Cheryl Seidemann. I'm here about the issue number 2-011. I live across the street from the Royal Farm on Pimlico and Smith, and I'm against the zoning change to allow Royal Farm to put a gas station in. This is a residential area. My concerns deal with health issues from gasoline vapor and leakage from gasoline tanks, as well as the smell carrying over into my house, especially if I want to open up my windows. I'm concerned about more traffic accidents along Smith. The entrances are too close to the traffic light at Pimlico and Smith, causing many fender benders, as well as getting in and out of the parking lot. I'm concerned that it will be an environment for more robberies. I'm also concerned about the noise level from the lot, especially Friday nights, when people tend to get out of their cars and talk to each other, and also in general from the garbage pickup that mostly is done between 5 and 6 a.m. I'm also concerned about more litter. I've had litter end up along Smith on my property as well as over the fence in my backyard. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. On issue 2-011, we've had a number of individuals speak. I'd ask if you are speaking on that issue, and someone has already addressed the issues that we've heard, health, safety, crime, traffic, debris, etc. I'd ask you, if you would, you can stand and just indicate that you are opposing it, but we would ask that you would allow others who have not had an opportunity on some of the other issues to speak. Okay, we're going to move to Alan Davis. And after Alan Davis, we will have Nayon Weinstein, Liz Davis, Scott Slater, Ruth Goldstein, and Dennis Orr. Mr. Davis.
Good evening. I haven't been here since 1976 when I graduated. My name is Alan Davis, and I'm here to give testimony on issue 2025, the Blue Stem property. Our family business, Princeton Sports, has been in operation since 1936, and its current location on Falls Road is immediately adjacent to the Blue Stem property since 1971. We're a small family business which has been part of the local community for nearly 50 years. We've employed hundreds of people from the nearby area and over the years, and we currently have over 20 employees. We're generally supportive of the Blue Stem development. Nonetheless, we have concerns of the site layout and its impact on Princeton Sports, but the concerns and the developers refuse to talk to us or even deal with us. We've shared an entrance from Falls Road to the adjoining property since day one in 1971. Most of our customers use the shared entrance instead of the other entrance, which is located on top of the hill on Racket Road. There's a sight distance problem with Racket Road with customers getting into our location. The Blue Stem layout eliminates Princeton Sports' access to the shared driveway and forces all of our customers to go up to Racket Road. The State Highway Administration has requested that the two properties have an interlocking parking lot connection, which would allow Princeton sports customers to continue to use the traffic signal at the intersection of Falls Road. Traffic experts have concluded that if all Princeton traffic was forced to use Racket Road entrance, the increased traffic flow from Falls Road and Racket Road intersections would pose a significant safety concern. However, the developer continues to oppose the interparking lot connection. Basically, what I'm asking you to do is not include us in any of this.
Okay. Well, our choices are, did you support it or you oppose it?
We're okay with it.
You're okay with where you are existing?
We're okay with where we are existing. Thank you.
All right. Nayon Weinstein.
My name is Nadine Weinstein. I live on Stone Pine Court in Cobblestone, and I'm a member of the Cobblestone HOA. I'm here to oppose 2018. That is a gas station at Woodholm Avenue and Reisterstown Road, part of the Woodholm development that they also would like to build 153 townhomes on Mount Wilson Lane. That zoning was approved 4 years ago because of the process that the county council uses, which means that one person gets to pick whether something is approved or not approved, no matter how the constituents and the people who live in the area feel. And that's what happened. It was approved then, although most of us did not want it. Mount Wilson Lane is a one-lane egress and access road. At the end of that road, which is closed to traffic, is a retirement community. There is an over 55 community, and there is rabbinical college, an elementary school, and lots of funeral home, and a lot of traffic. There have been many, many accidents there. There are people who have been hurt just trying to get through. God forbid there's an accident. Getting through there is a problem. Building all of this, the gas station, the homes, is strictly a matter of revenue for Woodholm Country Club. It would appear from all the people who have spoken that country clubs are having a tremendous problem, and the residents in those areas are the ones who are being asked to pay for it. This is not something we need. Nobody in Pikesville needs another gas station or any more housing or anything that's going to create more traffic. The whole area is overdeveloped. They've taken away green space, and we need to not have this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Weinstein. Liz Davis, and we are on number 40 of, I believe that's 86. Yes, so we're on presenter number 40. Ms. Liz Davis. All right, Scott Slater.
My name is the Reverend Dr. Scott Slater. I'm a resident of Towson, and I'm here to speak in favor of issue 2003. I serve on the bishop's staff in the Episcopal Diocese of Maryland, and in that role I work with congregations like St. Mark's on the Hill to maximize their vitality and positive impact in their local communities. I fully support St. Mark's request for a zoning change that will enable them to work collaboratively with Episcopal Housing Corporation and CHI to develop more affordable housing on some of their property. As a resident of Baltimore County myself, it is in my and all of our best interests to continue to make our county accessible and affordable to a wide range of economic classes. Not only does our county rely heavily on the presence of people willing to work in lower-paying jobs in an expensive area, but in the 19 years I have lived here, I am proud of the value that this county particularly places on its senior citizens, most of whom live on fixed incomes and many of whom struggle to afford to remain resident here due to their economic circumstances and the higher cost of living. I live in a neighborhood in Towson with affordable housing at its edge, and I deeply value the presence of those residents in my backyard and the way they add through their diversity and lifestyle to my own. As an official representative of our diocese, which includes over 100 congregations, including 18 in this county besides St. Mark's, it is a high moral priority for us to advocate for underserved and underrepresented members of our community. And so I urge you all to do the right thing and vote to approve this request. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Ruth Goldstein, followed by Dennis Orr, and we'll ask Howard Needle, Paul Bartlett, Keith Rosenblum, and Herb Weiss to come forward, please.
Hi, thank you all for the work that you're doing. I'm Ruth Goldstein. I live at 7 Slade Avenue, directly across from Suburban Club. I oppose issue 2006, and I support 2026. In the absence of a master plan for the whole 144-acre property, the county should impose a moratorium on development of any kind on the Suburban Club property. Suburban Club may be the last large green undeveloped space inside the Beltway in District 2, and it represents a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to plan for an intentional park or a walkable mixed-use community or recreational fields or a combination of those uses, all of which are desperately needed in Pikesville. But none of that will happen if we allow it to be carved up piecemeal every time Suburban Club has to pay a big bill off. Selling off this 18-acre lot for short-term gain is like hawking your grandmother's diamond ring to pay the electric bill. You stepped on my best line, okay, to pay the electric bill. I hope everyone's okay back there. If Suburban Club can't survive for a few years without the sale of this lot, then we know it can't survive for long, period. If that's the case, then the county should resist the pressure to grant development rights for a single 18-acre lot that is not part of a coordinated community-approved plan that addresses the whole property. Thank you.
Thank you. Dennis Orr.
My name is Dennis Orr, and I live at 28 Kingsley Road in Owings Mills. I oppose zoning issue 2-022, which is a petition by the Stoller car dealerships to rezone a residential lot to business major usage. This property sits in the visual center of our neighborhood, and it held the oldest home on the street when Stoller bought it. Stoller demolished it after losing his first petition for rezoning. This current petition would again threaten to bring a disruptive business operation into the heart of our 100-year-old community. We have been fighting this threat since 1988 with each rezoning cycle. But each time the zoning commissioners wisely decided not to grant the request for the rezoning of this property. I understand Stoller's need for more space. The current major expansion of 3 of his showrooms speaks volumes about that. But rather than expand in commercially zoned areas, the Stoller conglomerate has chosen to go the cheaper route, residential properties. They passed up purchasing the adjacent Goodwill store site when it was available. The Drive Time site, also adjacent and already established as a car dealership, was also passed up when it was available. Across Reisterstown Road still sits the vacant Shoppers Food Warehouse site. A large currently available lot at the southeast corner of Gwynbrook Avenue and Reisterstown Road has plenty of frontage available. There are viable alternatives to encroachment into these residential areas. Our neighborhood, which includes Montgomery Road, is a small, diverse, and stable community. Our children play together, ride bikes, we help each other shovel snow, or we just gather for casual chats. We homeowners have no choice but to again oppose this continuing threat to our children, our home values, and our community. Please deny petition 2-022. Thank you.
Howard Needle.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm Howard Needle. I'm speaking tonight as Vice President of the Pine Ridge Community Association. I have lived in my home there for 57 years, and many of my neighbors have lived there longer than I have. It's a quiet community on both sides of Old Court Road opposite Pomona, and we want to keep it that way. We love it. But we are here supporting issue 3, St. Mark's. That is a beautiful church. I heard some earlier speaker speak of the declining aesthetics in Pikesville. That is probably the most beautiful church you've ever seen, or one of them, and it heightens the aesthetics in Pikesville. We want the viability of that church, and we support this proposal. The only concern that we've had is traffic, and I understand, and an agreement has been reached, and our support is conditioned upon this, that they have agreed with Sunrise Senior Living, immediately adjacent to them, to not have another curb cut on Old Court Road, but to use the Sunrise access in order to exit with a right turn only, meaning they cannot turn left on Old Court Road toward Reisterstown Road. That makes better than the condition that we have now, constituting a win-win for everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Needle. Paul Bartlett, and as Mr. Bartlett comes, I'd ask Neville Jacobs, David Shapiro, and Ken Fuller to please come forward. Mr. Bartlett.
Good evening. My name is Paul Bartlett. I'm a chef and food service consultant representing Jaime Luna, the owner of Mari Luna Mexican Grill, on issue 2-016. I oppose rezoning land that is not owned by Baltimore County. A portion of the land identified in the rezoning request at issue was not purchased by and does not belong to Baltimore County. This land is owned by Mr. Luna by deed in 2017, purchased from Judy Chu Boone, daughter of the original developer of Colonial Village. That happened in the 1940s. The county has stated unequivocally that for over 20 years that they have never owned the roadbed. They just maintained it when it was Colonial Road. When Mr. Luna's restaurant opened in 2004, there were 2 existing encroachments on this abandoned roadbed alongside his building. First is the commercial driveway that connects the restaurant to Colonial Road for ingress and egress to Reisterstown Road with the benefit of the light at Reisterstown Road. The second encroachment is a portion of the side dining room at Mari Luna that was expanded onto the former roadbed prior to Mr. Luna's occupancy 20 years ago. Subsequent to purchase, Mr. Luna has cleaned up the portion of former roadbed open space that was not being maintained by the Community Association, removed 3 volunteer junk trees that were impacting power lines, and engaged an architect to assist with the design of a patio seating area on his property adjoining the community park. At this time, Colonial Village has filed a motion to rezone Mr. Luna's property from BL to DR5. We ask that this motion for rezoning not be granted, for it would clearly impact Mr. Luna's ability to operate his business. Further, the property clearly does not belong to either the county or to the Colonial Village Association.
Thank you, Mr. Needham.
Thank you.
Paul Bartlett.
That was me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Keith Rosenblum.
Good evening. My name is Keith Rosenblum, and I'm here in support of issue 2-011, the gas station at the Royal Farms. First off, what I'd like to say is I've lived in the area now for 5 years, and I'm sick and tired of being price gouged by Sunoco. What people don't realize, the Shell, there's one gas station in the whole area. So the speaker before said, oh, there's plenty of gas stations within 3 miles. 3 miles, come on. That's because every gas station outside of the one in the Atrium Plaza is over 2.5 miles away. And they know it, and they gouge prices, and it's not fair to anyone who live in the area. I go to Royal Farms 2, 3, 4 days a week to get coffee. It is a giant property, just as big as any of the properties really on Reisterstown Road where you get gas, and there are many gas stations on Reisterstown Road, but it is far away, and I live, a 2-minute drive from Royal Farms. I want to be able to get gas in my area. area. And that property, as I was saying, is big enough to house a gas station. There's a giant building there that can easily be taken down and make that property big enough to house it without any issue. Another speaker also mentioned who would want to buy a house in that area. Who would buy a house if you have a choice of a gas station? I'm here to tell you I would. In fact, we've looked at a number of houses just this week right within 500 feet of where the proposed gas station would be, and I see it as a convenience. I see it as a matter of help that when we run around, we have busy lives, and we don't have the time to just go and run, so often we're going and we're getting gouged because we don't have any other option. So to have a competitive option right there in the area, I think would be very beneficial for us. As far as crime and other issues, there's going to be crime anywhere. The fact is, with the gas station, you have more people, you have more lighting, you have more deterrence to any kind of crime in the area than you have right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Herb Weiss. Mr. Weiss, I'm going to call these off, and you may have others. 2012, 2020, 2029, 2030, and 2031. That's what I have in my notes.
Yes. My name's Herb Weiss. I'm the president of the Reisterstown Improvement Association. Two of these items, 012 and 031, are both in the same neighborhood off of Main Street in Reisterstown. We are...
and your position on those, sir?
We support the zoning change to less dense housing. This is an older neighborhood, narrow roads, it's a quiet area. These roads dump onto Main Street, which is already congested. It's the only way in and out is Stockdale Avenue. These homes existing are already under nearby development pressure, and they really can't tolerate more traffic. We're worried about future development, and we wish to forestall that if we can. Two other issues are also linked, issues 029 and 030. These are requests to remove the AS overlay from the existing zoning. The blighted gas stations are a detriment to Main Street and to the area. If they were redeveloped into gas stations again, we couldn't tolerate it. The goal of our organization is to attract good development. We don't need more gas stations. We don't need more convenience stores. Lastly, I want to speak to issue 020. These are two properties immediately adjacent to a very busy, failing intersection where Franklin Boulevard comes off of Interstate 795. It's used heavily by pedestrians. There's a high school very close by. We wish to keep this intersection from becoming even more dangerous than it already is. Thank you for your time.
So I want to go back over that. You support 2012 and 2031. You oppose 2020, 2029, and 2030.
We are in favor of 012, 031, 029, and 030. We are opposed to the change to BL zoning for issue 020.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good night.
Neville Jacobs. And as Neville Jacobs comes, David Langer, Robert Mock, and Jane Gerson. Mr. Jacobs, go right ahead.
Thank you. My name is Neville Jacobs, and I live at 10 Calypso Court, Baltimore, Maryland, 21209, in the community of Greengate. I am co-chair of the Land Use Committee of the Pikesville Green Spring Community Coalition, generally known as PGCC. We have previously sent in a letter outlining the PGCC position on a few of the issues we are addressing today, but I would specifically like to mention 6 issues. Issue 006, Suburban Club. We oppose this proposal because of the extreme density in an area where this is inappropriate, and because the 50-foot strip of land connecting it to Reisterstown Road would set a very bad precedent. We would be willing to support a compromise of allowing DR16 in the location identified for RAE-1, with the rest of the property remaining DR2. We oppose issue 011 Royal Farms because of the safety concerns for pedestrian and vehicular traffic. Issue 028 Shapiro property. We strongly support this proposal as we have in the past. Issues 033, 34, and 35, neighborhood commons overlays. These areas are all near or adjacent to Greengate, where I live. In fact, a piece of my property would be directly affected by issue 035. Greengate itself has been seriously concerned that the small pieces of open space in our community might be developed. So 6 years ago, we donated these properties to Neighbor Space of Baltimore County to keep them as open space, precisely what these issues are intending to do in these adjacent areas. This is an even better solution, and we strongly support these proposals.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, I'm not sure if you skipped over 49, David Shapiro.
You're next, sir.
Thank you. My name is David Shapiro. I'm speaking personally on one issue, that's issue 2-017. I'm in support of that issue, consolidating all of these properties into one zoning. This was recently joining the new Royal Farm store gas station that was constructed in the Owings Mills area. But now, on behalf of the Dumbarton Improvement Association, I am the president. The Improvement Association represents 88 families within the confines of Old Court Road to the north, 7 Mile Lane to the east, Slade Avenue to the south, and Park Heights Avenue to the west. The same section of Park Heights Avenue where the Suburban Country Club's 139 acres sit to the west of Park Heights Avenue. Dumbarton Improvement Association's mission, in part, is to maintain a strict guard and oppose any development in the proximity of the area which might adversely affect the peace, quiet, and character of the neighborhood, or which might in any way affect the residents of the Dumbarton use and enjoyment of their homes. The zoning issue request involves 18 of the 139 acres and potentially would permit up to 496 residential units and open the door to commercial development as a matter of right, one portion of the 18 acres. 3 primary concerns of this proposed zoning change involve: 1, piecemeal or spot zoning rather than preferred comprehensive plan for the entire 139 acres, the impact of any development on already overburdened stormwater systems and surface water flooding impacting our community, and finally, significant traffic congestion. Spot zoning is the antithesis of smart growth. We are not opposed to the development outright, but expect carefully developed plans which take into consideration a comprehensive plan carving out portions for park grounds, treescapes, and recreational facilities for the entire community. Baltimore County has established lots of rules and regulations with respect to stormwater, and these issues need to be addressed for the benefit of the community. We would oppose in the present form this proposal for the Suburban Club. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Ken Fuller, followed by David Langer, Robert Mock, Jane Gerson. I'd ask Jay Bernstein, Andrew Paris, and Jason Emmon to please come forward. Mr. Fuller.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Ken Fuller, and I'm speaking in favor of issue number 2-006, which seeks to rezone a portion of the Suburban Club so that the club can develop a piece of its property with an upscale multifamily project. I'm a board member of the club and have lived in the area for most of my life. The objective of this project is to raise funds to help sustain the club and add high-quality housing to the area, which is greatly needed. This housing would provide additional residents to support the restaurants and other businesses in the Pikesville Business District, be attractive to the members of the club and to others who may join the club given its proximity and convenience. Our membership is in support of this proposed change. Representatives of the club have met with several community groups, including the Pikesville Green Spring Communities Coalition, the Pikesville Community Corporation, the Dumbarton Improvement Association, the Pikesville Owings Mills Chamber of Commerce. We recognize the importance of working with the community and will continue to do so as this process progresses. We have already begun working on a restrictive covenant agreement that would would limit the scope of the multi-development process and address any concerns raised by the surrounding communities. Our goal is to enter into an agreement with the surrounding community so that the club and the community can both benefit from this proposed rezoning. We would greatly appreciate the Planning Board's recommending in favor of issue 2-006. Suburban Club has been an important part of this community for 120 years. We are hoping we can continue to provide the same great service for local residents for years to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller. David Langer. Robert Mott.
My name is Robert Mocht. I'm here on issue 2-025, and I am for it. This is the rezoning to community business. I've been a resident of the Bear Hills neighborhood for over 40 years. I'm a member of Save Lake Roland and the Lake Roland Nature Council. I funded the effort to get the Lake Roland area listed on the National Register of Historic Districts. I opposed the upzoning to change to business major commercial community core of this particular property in 2016. Over 50,000 square feet of commercial space and a 6-story multifamily residential building with at least 152 units, all on just 6 acres, directly adjacent to Lake Roland Park, is too dense and too high for the neighborhood. I still oppose this zoning 4 years later. The BMCCC rezoning was a mistake. This zoning is for centers intended to serve between 30 and 50,000 persons. This is not the appropriate site for such an enterprise. The road is too small. The sewer line is over capacity. The schools are over capacity, and the Lake Roland Park is in a nature park which needs to be protected. The impact on the neighborhood would be profoundly negative. I am asking that the parcel be rezoned to the much more appropriate community business zoning. The primary purpose of community business zoning is to provide for the daily shopping and service needs of nearby residents through small businesses which do not generate large amounts of traffic at any one time. In closing, I would like to point out that the BCMCCC change in 2016 was in order to accommodate this proposed development, which has been rejected by both the administrative law judge and the Baltimore County Board of Appeals.
Thank you, Mr. Mock. Jane Gerson. And this is on 2011?
Yes, it is.
And would you want to just state your position?
Yes.
And do you have anything different to say?
I just want to attest to the quality of the neighborhood. I live and I'm a board member of the Summit Chase Homeowners Association. I'd like to thank the council members and Councilman Patoka for your time. I just want to emphasize what a vibrant neighborhood this is with a lot of outdoor activity and young kids and dogs. I'm in the neighborhood every day, multiple times a day, out on the streets. Our neighbors are out walking their dogs, walking their kids, to emphasize the kind of area that the impact of the gas pumps would have. We have a lot of people there, it's really densely settled, and we use our neighborhood and we want to protect it. So I oppose issue 2-011.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jay Bernstein. And this is also on 2-011?
Yes, and I will try not to repeat what's been said before. Give a little bit of a different perspective. My name is Jay Bernstein, and this attempt to rezone the property is an old story. 65 years ago, in February 1955, the then owners of the property, Charles and Harriet Tauber, filed a petition for a special permit to use the property for a gasoline filling station. Now, in 1955, there were no other gas stations in the area. The area was sparsely populated, and little was known about the health and safety impacts and environmental hazards of gas stations. But despite all that, in 1955, the Tauber zoning request was denied. And why was it denied? The County Board of Zoning Appeals ruled in 1955 that a gas station at that location would be, quote, detrimental to the health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. That was true in 1955. It's even more true today. Today, there are many other gas stations in the area. area. Today, the gas station abuts a densely populated residential neighborhood and is right next door to a synagogue. And today, we know so much more about the health risks and environmental risks of gas stations. And one other thing that's different today. Today, we have a 2020 county master plan. Now, that plan is designed to ensure safe and attractive places to live and work, reduce and mitigate negative impacts to the environment, and preserve and stabilize existing residential neighborhoods. The gas station that's proposed is contrary to every one of those principles. It will make the surrounding area less safe and less attractive. It will degrade and contaminate the environment, and it will destabilize the neighborhood. That's why the County Department of Planning correctly determined that the requested zoning change is inconsistent with the master plan and should be rejected, and we urge you to do the same because what was said in 1955 is true today. This proposal is detrimental to the health, safety, and general welfare of the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Andrew Paris.
Hi. My name is Andrew Paris, and I'm here for issue 2-022 in opposition. And I'm here on behalf of myself as well as my parents, Tom and Debbie, if you guys, that's the names on the papers. I'm also here with the rest of my neighborhood. There's only about 25 houses. It's a very small neighborhood, but this issue is not a new one. Lynn Stoller has been trying to rezone this property since clearly before, he bought it in the 90s, but they've been fighting Lynn Stoller in the neighborhood since my neighbor said the 80s, so even before I was born. You guys denied it in 2004 and then in 2016. There's pictures of what it looked like before. When he first did not get the request back in the 90s, he decided to be retaliatory and demolish the house as well as all the trees. So you can see this is what it looked like before and this is what it looks like now. And he wants to make it into a parking lot, so it would be even worse. And so I think I speak for everyone in our neighborhood when I say that we oppose the zoning change for 2-022. Thank you.
Thank you. Jason Inman, once again, this is 2-011. We're going to move on. Sharon Cobb, Richard North, Tatiana North. And I'd also ask Maxine Seidman, Stephen Venick, and Howard Elbaum.
Jason? I didn't hear you. You said Jason?
I did. That's okay. On 2011?
Yes.
Something different?
My name's Jason Ehrman. I stepped out for a while, so I didn't hear all the previous comments, but I do live in the neighborhood very close to the Royal Farm, and when I heard there was going to be a gas station, I was extremely excited. I'm all for it. I live literally 200 yards away, and I think it would be awesome to have a gas station in the neighborhood. It's extremely convenient to be right there, and it'll bring prices down because there is a Shell station down the street that is priced about 25 cents higher. So I'm for it and excited. I hope it goes through. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Inman. Sharon Cobb.
I'm Sharon Cobb, and I'm here against 2022. I won't repeat what Mr. Orr said or the other gentleman said, but you have to understand that we have 75 to 100 feet of two-lane road into this conclave, and the rest of it's one lane. And it's 2 90-degree turns to go through this area. There are infants through the elderly living in here. We are already inundated by the loud noises from the radios and the bright lights from Len Stoller's body shop and car wash that back right up to 3 of the houses already. What we don't need is any more bright lights, loud radios, or traffic on this one-lane road when half the people don't know how to drive on a one-lane road that's two-way traffic. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard North.
Members of the board, Councilman Patoka. I'm here as a resident of the Falls Road, Lake Roland area to speak in favor of issue 2-025, which proposes to downzone the lot commonly known as Blue Stem, proposed development, to community business. Our Falls Road community thought we could rely on the 2010 community plan adopted by the County Council, on Bear Hill status as an historic district, and on Falls Road status as a scenic byway. And we thought we could rely upon the Ruxton-Riderwood Lake Roland Area Improvement Association to represent our interests, but we were unpleasantly surprised when they supported increased zoning allowing a 6-story development. The community petitioned the Ruxton-Riderwood Association, resulting in the first such emergency meeting in their entire history, at which 79% of those present voted against the development, 120 to 32. Unfortunately, Ruxton-Riderwood collected proxy votes from those not present, overwhelming those present, and reported only the totals. Please do not be misled by this. Ruxton-Riderwood's support contributed to the current zoning, and despite covenants with the developer and despite revisions to those covenants in favor of the developer, those covenants were promptly broken. And we continue to hope that Ruxton-Riderwood will enforce them. Although Ruxton-Riderwood does not represent our interests, my wife and I have since joined the Falls Road Community Association, which we are confident will represent us faithfully. We support more restrictive zoning. Thank you.
Thank you. Tatiana North.
So, good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for being here, doing your job. Even coronavirus doesn't keep you home. But the 6-acre property once contained a stream, a tributary of the Johns Falls, which has since been buried under a big landfill, which never would have been allowed under today's EPA rules. As a licensed engineer, I wrote to Baltimore County about this, but was told it was too late to do anything about it. Under the present zoning, a developer has proposed a 6-story apartment building complex with very little open space and lots of impervious surface, which will increase runoff and further endanger the Johns Falls immediately below the property where Trout Unlimited just completed restoring the stream. It is not too late to change the zoning and prevent this additional insult to the environment. We support changing the zoning to more restrictive, and we hope to preserve the stream, and any future zoning will take care, especially requirements with the buffer zone that needs to be maintained, and it is a secondary water stream. It's been there for many, many years. At home I have a map which shows, and it's 100 years old, which shows this water stream. This is something to be preserved, and it can be done under more restrictive zoning. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Norton. Maxine Seidman, Stephen Vinnick, Howard Elbaum, to be followed by James Kelly, Chris Alive, and Deidre Smith. Ms. Seidman, well, that's 2011, so I'm assuming not going to go. We are on presenter 61. Stephen Vinnick.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Vanek. I'm the president of the Fram Monument Company. It sits on the corner of Reisterstown and Colonial Road. I've been at that location since 1981. I'm here about issue 2-016 and 2-001. First, regards to 2-016, I do support this issue with one exclusion. I previously submitted a packet which you all should have, and it has the following documents. I should have a map of 2-016 with an area parcel of land about 780 square feet, which is owned by myself. This is part of the exclusion for downzoning, and my supporting documents show a boundary survey that took place last month showing that this was a parcel of land that was a swap from Baltimore County in 1983. When Colonial Road was widened, the land swap took that piece of land, and Baltimore County transferred that to Fram Monument. There's 4 pages of a deed that took place at that time, along with copies of property tax bills that we've been paying since 1983. That land is very valuable to us, and while I support 2-016, a parcel of land that I owned that we use for storage is very valuable, and do not want that part downzoned. Regards to 2-001, I'm in favor of that issue. That is a area that's behind Fram Monument Company. It goes into 2 residential properties in Colonial Village. I own both those properties, and this extra area would allow us to beautify our property and also have more storage space and continue to grow our business. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Howard Elbaum. And Mr. Elbaum, you're once again on 2011.
Yes.
I'd ask you if you repeat.
One issue I don't believe I heard anyone mention, and I am speaking against the proposal, and I don't believe anyone mentioned anything about environmental threat to Chesapeake Bay, since gasoline spills are rather endemic to running a gas station. Any sort of spill has the potential to wash into the bay. It presents another threat to that. I wanted to, Dr. Blumenthal mentioned everything else I was going to say, but I did also want to mention I'm a retired chemist, and so that's another professional opinion in support of Dr. Blumenthal's position. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Patoka.
James Kelly. Chris Ali.
Hello, I just need about 15 seconds. I'm here on 2-011, and I just want to point out to you that you also have 2-28 and 2-29 properties on Main Street in Reisterstown where you're going to be removing the AS overlay on 2 abandoned gas stations, and so I just want to juxtapose those issues with this 2-011, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Deidre Smith.
Good evening. I'm Deirdre Smith. I'm here representing Save Lake Roland in support of 2-025. The 6-acre parcel in question here backs up to Lake Roland Park, an area I've lived in my entire life. This park is a fragile treasure. We should be doing everything we can to protect it. The current zoning that allows a project such as the proposed Blue Stem development is not at all compatible with either the park or the community. As over more than 600 supporters of Save Lake Roland have said, this zoning allows too much density, and you've heard about some of the proposals for that. There's virtually no on-site open space in this plan and insufficient sewer capacity as confirmed by 2 legal reviews. Current zoning is designed for dense town centers such as Owings Mills and White Marsh. That is a ludicrous zoning for this area. An area with a 2-lane road that cannot be expanded, insufficient sewer capacity, and failing intersections south and north of it. Falls Road is a vital link between the county and the city. Unless we're going to start flying to and from work, schools, and shopping, and disposing of our sewer elsewhere, this zoning makes no sense. CB zoning will ensure that any development on this property is compatible as laid out in the 2010 community plan, with more open space as buffer for the park, room for small businesses, and adequate infrastructure capacity, essential components of sound planning. CB zone will allow a developer to make a profit while also protecting the park and the surrounding area. Twice, at great financial cost to the community, the current Blue Stem proposal was denied by the courts. Now it is your turn to make the zoning right. Thank you.
Thank you. We're now going to go with Douglas Carroll, Susan Patz, Lisa Singer. I'd also like Tamika Givens, Susan Schofield, and Kenneth Epps to please come forward.
Microphone is too low.
We can hear you clearly. So you
sure?
Have to adjust. Yeah.
Okay. I'm Doug Carroll. I'm supporting 2025. My job in a minute and a half is to convince you that the zoning that was given this property 4 years ago was in error. One reason that is that it was misconstrued as a downzoning at the time. It was not a downzoning by any means. It went from industrial, no residential use to unlimited residential use with 6-story high-rise buildings. It also was a big source of contributions to Vicki Allman's decision to run for county executive, and that certainly influenced the decision on this zoning. It also was passed back then with the requirement for an agreement with Ruxton Riderwood Association that was promptly changed and abandoned. So the zoning would not have been approved without that agreement. The scale of development usable in this zone has been proven by the ALJ's decision to not be possible with the inadequate infrastructures that exist there. We have an incredible park there that is the envy of any urban area. And do you really want to have 6-story high-rises built on the border of that park? Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Patz.
Hello, I'm Susan Patz, and I have lived next...
Just stand a little closer. You don't have to... Yeah.
I am Susan Patz, and my family has lived adjacent to the Suburban Club for 90 years. We support issue 2026 and oppose 2006. We propose downzoning the entire 144-acre Suburban Club property to establish a Baltimore County regional park that would become a regional destination on one of the last large green spaces within the Erdel. As previously noted, country clubs are no longer a sustainable business model. Suburban Club is no exception, having sold land before to offset debt, and now again in 2020. Suburban will be for sale in the foreseeable future. Thus, it behooves the county to look at this tract of land in a visionary way. As a regional park, it would complement the Pikesville revitalization plan, anchoring and connecting recreational, cultural, environmental, and healthy lifestyle resources in one visionary design. Downzoning the Suburban Club allows for the thoughtful planning and coordination of its future, powering Pikesville's revitalization and securing this beautiful property as a regional county park, a legacy for future generations. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lisa Singer. Tamika Givens. Susan Schofield. And as Ms. Schofield comes, could Michael Greenspun, Jack Greenberg, and Justin Gorham please come forward? Ms. Schofield.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to all of us. My name is Susan Scoville. I reside at 26 Kingsley, Owings Mills, Maryland. I am opposed to, let me get it right, the zoning request from Len Stoller to zone from...
2022?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
To change from DR 3.5 to BM. As you've heard from my neighbors, this has been a long fight. We are a tiny neighborhood. I would like to invite you all to come and see what Mr. Len Stoller has done to our property. My property runs the parallel line, and it is a mess. Miss Arlene is the other owner. Miss Arlene, raise your hand. The other side of the property line, and her property is flooded with the lights. The last request for zoning change, Mr. Stoller raised his lights in our neighborhood. We have light pollution like you wouldn't believe. All of my neighbors that are here down the street, you can't do anything in the neighborhood because Mr. Stoller owns that lot, and he has many viable options, commercial options that he could use. I want to thank you for denying his request, and I want to ask you again to please continue to deny this request. It is a spot zoning issue. It is inappropriate in our neighborhood. It will detrimentally cause harm to us and our neighbors. And I thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Kenneth Epps, 2010. Mr. Epps?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to thank the board for being here tonight. I just wanted to just piggyback on my neighbor, Mr. Surtipi, at 9925. I'm at 9923. I just want to let you know that we are in favor of the zoning change to a DL, and for several reasons. We have been in this area since 1995. We've owned the building. We've had plenty of business constructions around us with the proposal next door for Wawa's and some other stores. We're right across the street from Foundry Road with all the constructions there. Been in consultation with the state of Maryland, Highway Administration. We have constructions coming behind our building, which is going to be retail and office. So for us, Mr. Surtipi, and our building, it's only makes sense for us to have our buildings go DL. It's a logical choice, and so we're in favor of that. I've asked for that maybe 10 years ago when the proposal came up, and they just said, not now. But in 10 years, the progress and the growth in Owings Mills has been beyond what I can imagine. So we're sitting right in the middle of all of the building there, the progress, and for us to be at a RO zoning, that doesn't make sense. So we're in favor of the change to the DL. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Epps. We'll now have Michael Greenspun, followed by Jack Greenberg, Justin Gorham. I'd also ask Alan Waller, Robert Williams, and Mark Bradshaw to please come forward. Mr. Greenspun, go right ahead.
Good evening, and thank you, members of the Planning Board, for your time. I am Michael Greenspun, and I represent Woodley Property Partners, which owns 2 properties covered by downzoning request 2-012. I am here to speak against the proposed zoning change from DR 3.5 to DR 2. I would like to point out that the Department of Planning does not support the requested zoning change. These properties are part of a proposed 4-acre, 13-lot development, Woodley Park, which is currently going through the development approval process. It was recommended for approval by every reviewing agency and department of Baltimore County, yet the administrative law judge at the hearing officer's hearing denied our development plan. In our opinion, as a brand-new ALJ, he let community opposition dictate his ruling and thus mistakenly ignored years of precedents and reinterpreted codes and laws to suit his purpose of denying our plan. Therefore, we have filed an appeal to this decision, which will be heard next week on March 10th by the Board of Appeals. We feel this appeal is crucial not just for the sake of our project, but for the very future of development plans in the county. If this ALJ ruling is allowed to stand, it would portend a dim future of stagnation and diminished economic development. Furthermore, the People's Council for Baltimore County has decided that it would like to join and or intervene in this appeal, as a result of what it has deemed significant zoning and master plan conflict issues in order to defend the ALJ's decision. I do not believe that it would be appropriate or fair to use the CMZ process to downzone these properties while the development plan is still proceeding through the approval process. The People's Council and I both feel there are very important issues raised by this ALJ decision that need to be addressed and resolved. If the properties were downzoned, it would render the current development plan moot and end the project's journey through the court system, thus denying all of us a judicial resolution. Lastly, the nearly $100,000 I've spent to date on engineering, processing, and legal fees for this project would become a complete waste, not because of judicial proceedings, but due to a legislative decree. Thank you,
sir. Jack Greenberg, 2006. That issue was 2012, and that was Mr. Greenspan opposed. Mr. Greenberg.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Jack Greenberg, and I'm the president of the Suburban Club. I live in the community and have been a member of the Suburban Club for 10 years. I'm here to speak in support of issue number 2006. The Suburban Club's requested rezoning of a small portion of our property, which is on the corner of Park Heights Avenue and Slade Avenues. Our primary objective is to sell a 6-acre parcel of the property to a developer for construction of upscale multifamily condominium units. The primary objectives of our requested change are to provide capital to support future operations of the club and to support the county's Pikesville Revitalization Action Plan. The envisioned project will provide additional upscale housing to the community. This will provide Pikesville-based housing for our members who are looking to downsize or move closer to the club, provide additional residents to support the local restaurants and businesses in Pikesville, and provide potential new members to join and support our club. The planned development will provide a housing opportunity in a way and in a location that fits within the neighborhood and is greatly needed. Suburban Club has been an important member of the community for over 120 years, and we are working to preserve it. We have just completed a major refinancing where the individual club members purchased over our $4,000 mortgage from Bank of America, which clearly shows the club and members' commitment to the current Pikesville location and the future of the club. The next step in this process is to raise additional capital through the sale of a small portion of the club. I applaud the Suburban Club for creating this opportunity for the community and the club and ask you to support it. We would greatly appreciate the Planning Board recommending in favor of issue 2006. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Greenberg. Justin Gorham. Following Mr. Gorham, once again, will be Alan Waller, Robert Williams, Mark Bradshaw. I'd ask Jordan Greenspun, Scott Berger, and Pauline Black to please come forward. Mr. Gorham.
I'm Justin Gorham. I live at 5 Montgomery Road. It's right down the street from the lot everybody's talking about for the issue 2-022. I'm asking y'all to not allow it to be rezoned. I got kids. I got 2-year-old. I got 7-year-old. Wave hi, Jonathan. Stand up. Say hi. There you go. I got boys playing in the street. That doesn't matter. The lights are bright at night. Employees park in the middle of a one-lane street. I live down the end of the dead end, then back down the other end of the dead end. When it rains, my street fills with water, and all that water runs into my house. At the top of the street, there's a big field. Right now, it's a big field. I've only been there 3 years, and if they put a parking lot up there, it's just going to be more water coming to my house. It's just going to rip out the rest of the ground. I got gullies about 2.5 foot deep out the side of the road. It's paying the buck. Just want to say I'm not trying to villainize any business owners or anything. You know, I just want you guys to consider that, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gorham. Alan Waller.
Good evening. My name is Al Waller, and I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak here tonight in support of issue 2.025, effectively reducing commercial business density. For the record, my wife and I have been residents of the Ruxton Lake Roland area since 1958. We raised our family here, and so I can tell you I've personally witnessed a lot of changes in terms of development, both commercially and residentially, some of it better than others, and this is definitely not one of the better ones. I come to you to voice my strongest opposition to Blue Stem's project at Clarkview and Falls Road. And while I was raised to have an open mind, I got to tell you, I just have a tough time getting my head around this one. Now, the developer, and I've gone to several meetings where he spoke, and he seems like a decent sort, and I don't begrudge anybody wanting to maximize the value of their investment here. However, the expansive scope, including a 6-story apartment, which if you add, I guess, the HVAC equipment on top of it, that makes it 7 stories. The environmental impact to Lake Roland, the additional strain to infrastructure, water, sewage, as well as the substantial increase to the already bloated traffic and congestion would be just, quite frankly, untenable. And if you're an out-of-town or an in-town commuter going in there on Falls Road, taking your kids to school, you know what I'm talking about. So I guess, in closing, I'm reminded of a song by the Rolling Stones. You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometime, you get what you need. Well, my friends, what we really don't need is a development of this size on that parcel of land. So I'm just hoping that you'll understand what we're trying to say here this evening. I know it's been said many times by other folks in a probably more elegant way, but I want to thank you for your indulgence and time this evening, and hope that those in power will have a measure of common sense and stick a fork into this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Weller. Robert Williams. Once again, please come forward and sit on the front row. This is Mr. Williams, Mark Bradshaw, Jordan Greenspun, Scott Berger, Pauline Black. Mr. Williams.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rob Williams. I live at 1309 Malvern Avenue, which is less than a mile from this Blue Stem development as the crow flies. I am for 202-025 for 3 reasons. One, it changes the rural nature of this community by a lot. We're not supposed to have high-density places here. I've lived here for many decades, and I don't like to see the nature of the neighborhood in which I have lived and supported my local politicians suddenly change or gradually change in nature. 2, this piece of land juts in to Lake Roland, and it will clearly change the nature of it. With a 6-story building, this is going to start to look like Central Park, beautiful forest, and surrounded by high-rise buildings. And last, I really do not like increasing the traffic density. I know that the zoning commission has said it is not going to change the amount of traffic going through this community, but I have seen all throughout my neighborhood and on that road in front of this development how the density of traffic has dramatically increased. Though at the last meeting I saw somebody from the traffic board saying it only will go up by a little bit. Higher traffic causes stress, and stress has a direct impact on our happiness and health. And to put a high development into this neighborhood is going to impact our health by causing stress and unhappiness. And I would like, in the neighborhood in which I have lived for a long time, finally be heard and keep it the same, rather than representing new people moving in that aren't here yet. Anyway, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Williams. Mark Bradshaw. 2022.
Hello. My condolences for having to go through this every 4 years. My name is Mark Bradshaw. I come in opposition of 2022. I have only been in this neighborhood for 3 years, so I have not been present for any of the other attempted incursions into our quiet little enclave. But in my time there, I do not see anything that would possibly have changed to allow this zoning change. One thing that has changed in the time that I've been there is we've had a bunch of kids grow up and start to play in the neighborhood, and this would, endanger them, possibly. Anyway, we've had other neighbors talk about the light and noise pollution, and as Justin spoke to earlier, I live at one of those properties that sees erosion from runoff, which would increase if this were turned into a parking lot. So, in opposition, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Jordan, once again, Jordan Greenspun, Scott Berger, Pauline Black. Following those three will be Allie Garishel, Adam Rosenblatt, and Mary Brown. Jordan Greenspun, come on up.
Good evening, and thank you, members of the Planning Board, for your time. My name is Jordan Greenspun, and I represent Glendon Watch Utilities Company, which owns the tax certificate to a property covered by the downzoning requests 2-012 and 2-031 at 33 Stockdale Avenue. I'm here to speak against the proposed zoning change from DR 3.5 and DR 2 to all DR 2. The County Council put forward issue 2-031 largely, I believe, as a result of this particular parcel, specifically justified by stating narrow feeder streets make this property and area more fitting for lower density zoning. If the property were to have ingress and egress only to the adjoining Stockdale Avenue, I can understand the council's concern to a degree. As a map of the area for my neighborhood shows, this 6-acre property has 2 adjoining drainage and utility easements with available storm drain and sewer connections for this property. It was obviously intended for this property to be developed one day. Furthermore, there is a vacant adjacent parcel S, which can provide ingress and egress for the property via Diploma Drive, which has an ample 35-foot wide paved section. This is much, much wider than the Stockdale Avenue and well-suited to handle traffic to and from the property. This parcel S is still owned by the original builder in the Franklin Station subdivision, and we have entered into negotiations with them to acquire this parcel. Furthermore, the adjacent Franklin Street subdivision is mostly zoned DR 3.5, and even the smaller DR 2 section is physically laid out exactly as the DR 3.5 sections. Therefore, without access to Diploma Drive, not only should this property not be downzoned to DR 2 throughout, but I would like to request that it be changed to DR 3.5 throughout. This keeps it very compatible with the neighborhood Franklin Station community, avoids the narrower Stockdale Avenue, and makes it very efficient.
Thank you, Mr. Greenspun. Thank you. Scott Berger.
Good evening. My name is Scott Berger, 16 Woodholm Avenue. I've been a resident and owner of the property for 25 years. I'm strongly opposed to 2.018. It's a rezoning of a portion of the Woodholm Country Club, and I'm sorry for being so ill-prepared tonight because I didn't even know this was going to happen until I made a phone call to your offices today to make sure this issue was going to be held tonight. I was told that there were going to be signs set up at Woodholm Avenue and Reisterstown Road. I'm in and out of there every day, a few times a day. There is no sign. Supposedly it was put up on February 18th, not there. I think you even had one of your members go by and confirm that it was not there. So either somehow it just, a ghost took it, or it was removed by someone who didn't want, apparently, a lot of our neighbors here. That being, put aside, it's going to be a detriment to my property personally. It's directly backs up to my home. It will diminish the enjoyment and use of my property. I didn't find out till this afternoon that what they're planning for is not just business major, but a service station, bank, possible restaurant, convenience store, possibly service along with the gas station. I don't want to see it. A lot of the reasons just because of what a lot of the people said for 011 with the environmental and the medical impacts on individuals. Ran out of time, but don't do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Berger. Pauline Black. Now, Ms. Black, this is regarding 2003. You have
That is correct, thank you.
Additional to say?
Yes.
Okay, go right ahead.
My name is Pauline Black. I'm a parishioner of St. Mark's Church and have been very enthusiastic of supporting the designation of selling the parcels so that the church can obtain the necessary additional funding so it can sustain and repair the church. It's been in existence since 1879. We've struggled to get a major mold problem that we had that closed the church for over a year, but we were able through our efforts to get that mold cleaned up. And I am also a senior citizen. There seems to be a misunderstanding that low-income housing and affordable housing are the same. They are not. A lot of the senior citizens who are downsizing, who are empty nesters, are looking for affordable housing. And within the Reisterstown Old Court area, we have the Weinberg housing as well as the Sunrise housing. There are only 5 senior citizen buildings designated within the Pikesville area. The rest are in Owens Mill or in Randallstown. So there is a need for additional senior housing. Most of the existing buildings have an 18 to 24-month waiting period for new residents to be able to get an apartment. So allowing for the sale of the acreage and allowing for affordable housing for seniors would be a real value to the community and will serve everyone well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Black. Ali Qureshi? I'm sorry, Ali.
Yep. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ali Qureshi. I live at 34 Wageway, a townhome community that was recently built opposite 7 Slade Avenue. I moved here recently. I lived in Howard County for 30 years and moved here as a part of downsizing plan after retirement. Now, we are very happy to move next to a suburban green club. However, the issue 2-006, I strongly oppose it, simply because that they have requested that small parcel, 12.43 acre, from DR2 to RAE1. Now, RAE1 allows up to 40 units per acre. Now imagine there 12.43 times 40 comes to 497 units, and if you build 497 units over there, and each family having 2 cars on the average nowadays, that comes to about 1,000 cars in that neighborhood, and how much headache or nightmare it will cause in terms of traffic congestion and human traffic condition there. So that's the reason I'm opposed. However, I'm very much considerate about financial condition of Green Spring Club. I would like that club to survive, and as I heard in the beginning, that some of the clubs are closing down because of the financial reason. So my suggestion, and if the club is willing to consider, is to ask for DR16 instead of RAE1, because some of our neighbors, 1 Slade Avenue, 7 Slade Avenue, 11 7th Avenue, they are all DR16.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Adam Rosenblatt.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Adam Rosenblatt. I'm helping the Suburban Club with their requested rezoning, so I'm in favor of issue 6 and against issue 26. I do want to echo the positive sentiments from the members of the club that testified tonight, and also note that of the many people who testified from various community groups, it must be noted that Many of them said they're already in discussions with Suburban Club, and their goal is to reach an agreement that will allow the club to have some development and also succeed and not have negative impacts on the surrounding community. That's absolutely our goal as well for this project. And the members of the club have met with the Pikesville Green Spring Community Coalition, the Pikesville Communities Corporation, the Dumbarton Improvement Association, the Pikesville Owings Mills Chamber of Commerce, and have spoken to representatives of One Slade and the Baltimore Hebrew Congregation. They recognize the importance of working with the community and will continue to do so as this process progresses. I also want to make one correction. You never want to correct something your client says, but Mr. Greenberg testified that the members of the club had just repurchased a $4,000 mortgage. It's actually a $4 million mortgage. It is a large, it says a lot about their interest in remaining in place, continuing to function as a club. One last point I want to make is this is an issue you'll see that has about 16 acres in play. It is absolutely not the intent to develop commercial uses or to develop all of the 16 acres. There is a strange provision that the RAE zone that we're seeking can only be placed on property that is within a town center, which this isn't, or within a certain distance of the CCC overlay. So the sole purpose of that extra acreage is to provide the CCC overlay so that a small portion of the property can be developed. This will all be covered by a covenant agreement that will limit the developable portion of the rezoning request. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rosenblatt. We're going to call Mary Brown. Following that will be Roy Hood, Chris Mudd, Afshin Attar, Ruth Eisenberg. Mr. Hood? Mary Brown first. Mary Brown? No? Okay. Roy Hood.
My name is Roy Hood, and I own the property at 2 East Cherry Hill Road, and I would like to have it rezoned from 3.5 and RO to BL because we need to increase our access to the property. The increased traffic on 2 East Cherry Hill Road has become untenable, and we have to we can't get into the property as it is. And I thank you for your time.
So that was, Mr. Hood, was 2020?
Yes, sir, 2002?
Yeah, 2020.
Yes, sir.
And that was supporting,
yes,
correct?
Sir. Yes,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Mudd.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Board. I appreciate your time tonight and every night as you're going through this over the next month. I'm here to speak in support of issue 2-018, which is the Woodhome Country Club. Just wanted to clarify a couple things. One, there was some discussion before about residential development that Woodhome is undertaking. That has nothing to do with the request that's before the Planning Board. That rezoning was granted 4 years ago, and we're in the middle of a development process. What the request that we're here for tonight relates to, and that's on Mount Wilson Lane. This is related to land that's along Reisterstown Road. It's along a commercial corridor, currently zoned DR1, and the request is to take it to BMAS. Mr. Zuckerberg testified earlier, Mr. Potler testified earlier about the fact in passing that they're working with some of the petitioners on some of the issues, notwithstanding the fact that they're opposed to them. Woodhome is one of those. We've had discussions, or folks from Woodhome have had discussions with Mr. Zuckerberg, and hope to continue that in the future. And there was also some concern about the AS, which is an overlay that's requested for this particular piece of property, and how that would allow for fuel. That's correct, that would allow for fuel, but the club is actually in serious discussions to try and obtain or get an agreement with a non-fuel business. And so BM or BL would even be an appropriate zone for the Planning Board to consider for this particular piece of property without the AS overlay, and that would still give the flexibility to the club to find the potential to redevelop this consistent with the BM and BL and other business zones that exist along Reisterstown Road. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mudd. Afshin Attar.
Good evening. My name is Afshin Attar. I'm a business owner right across from Woodhome Road or Hooks Lane Road and Reisterstown Road. I'm there on that intersection every day. Basically, I go and come, off Reisterstown Road. Traffic is a major issue, humongous issue at that corner. That's a troubled intersection already. Adding any sort of a huge gas station that Woodhome Country Club is planning to add, besides all the impact that's going to have on this, people living in that area, neighbors and all that, in terms of noise, crime, but traffic is going to be a huge issue. If you look at this stretch of about 0.2 mile of stretch from Woodhome Road and Reisterstown Road towards south, there are 4 gas stations, in addition to a Royal Farm that they're trying to build where the Ramada Inn is. They're trying to knock it down with the Royal Farm, which is a guarantee to put a gas station owner right next door out of business, which was a, poor guy. I was talking to him, the other day, very sad. He bought the station a while ago, hoping to, come off of, government help and have his own business, but now this Royal Farm can easily put him out of business. So I'm opposing the 2-018. I am for, for the case 2-013, which is in Owings Mills, and that is to remove an AS overlay from that property. Grove Lane property is a floodplain area. Wawa was planning to go there a few years ago, but now they're planning to build across from Fandy Row. But that area, we don't want a gas station to come there. It's a historic site. And again, from Fandy Row, going north on Reisterstown Road, there are 4 gas stations, plus the Wawa that's being built. Alongside Reisterstown Road, there is no need for any more gas station. Thank you so much.
Ruth Eisenberg, and following Ruth Eisenberg, Austin Breckenridge, Bugatti Kausa, and Tiffany Smith-Williams. Ruth Eisenberg, okay. Austin Breckenridge. Bugatti Kausa. Tiffany Smith-Williams. And as Ms. Smith-Williams comes, Paul Abrams, Rachel Rabinowitz, Mary Melinaro, Howard Hyman, and Elizabeth Lewins. If you could come forward. Ms. Tiffany Smith-Williams.
Good evening, everyone. I am here in support of 2012 and 2031. I am a resident of Stocksdale Avenue. We had a neighbor testify at the beginning of the hearing, and you've heard from a developer that's interested in our neighborhood. The fact of the matter is that it is a historic neighborhood. They are very small and narrow streets. We have neighbors who have put rocks on their lawns to keep delivery trucks and landscaping trucks and people who just drive without any consideration on your lawn and trying to make it into a road. We've already been victimized by new development behind us where we had to fight with the county to get them to close off the emergency exit because we are in a panhandle community, and those people were constantly driving through, cutting the chain when the county fought us on putting on the permanent lock so that only the fire department could get through, which was listed in the original development plan, and that took time before we could do that. So even if there are additional egresses on 33 Woodley that is coming, that we are proposing to have downzoned, it's already been proven that they're going to race up and down Stocksdale because it is closest to Reisterstown Road and the Wawa, which has the gas and the coffee and everything that people want to get in the morning. It's the closest egress. But we've also had fire trucks that creep up and down our roads for emergencies because if they go any more than 5 miles an hour, they might knock a house over. We have a dentist business who has put stones on his lawn because cars have run up into his property and his building multiple times. So in addition to the deer and the rabbits and the squirrels and the raccoons and the hawk and the owl and everyone else who doesn't want to be overdeveloped, we are not against change and development, but we are not an urban community. Therefore, we don't want to be treated as such and have houses stockpiled in our 100-year-old community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Paul Abrams.
Yeah, I'm here to speak about, I think it's 2011, about the Rural Farm gas station. I'm a lifetime resident of the same neighborhood, and if you look at the overall picture of rural farm stores that have gas stations, most of them are in main thoroughfares, Reisterstown Road, Liberty Road. They replaced restaurants and all where Captain Harvey's was. If you look at rural farms like in some city areas, in local neighborhoods, Keswick Road, they don't have gas stations, but they have a gas station on 41st Street because it's a main commercial thoroughfare. Smith Avenue is just overcrowded. They built over 300 houses on the old Bonneview Golf Course. It's caused so much excess traffic on the road, plus the schools that have opened up in the neighborhood. I mean, I'm a licensed home improvement contractor over 30 years with the state. I deal with Holland's Organic on Falls Road. There's trucks and all dump trucks and all landscape trucks that are always on Smith Avenue doing work in the neighborhood. Why can't they put a gas station? Falls Road in the county used to have gas stations back in the 60s, before I ever drove a car. And why can't they put one on Clarkview Road, where all the office parks are there? That would be a good spot to have a rural farm with a gas station, because these trucks need diesel fuel. Are they going to sell diesel fuel on Smith Avenue? Because then all the heavy trucks are going to pull in there to buy gasoline, diesel fuel. So that's a big issue. And Green Springs Shopping Center, the county or state should make them lower their prices 40 cents a gallon more than any other station in the state of Maryland that I know of, from traveling all through the state. I mean, there should be regulations on that price gouging. I mean, it's not fair to the neighbors.
Thank you, Mr. Abrams. Sure. Rachel Rabinowitz.
Hello, thank you, Board. My name is Rachel Rabinowitz. I live at 7709 Park Heights Avenue, which is right across the street from Suburban Country Club. I'm against 2006. The club has claimed that they are just looking to build some condos. However, the zoning that they are asking for could build anything from very large condos to businesses. We don't need more development in our area. I have a lake in my yard every time we have heavy rain, and it's because of development, and it keeps coming in, and instead of worrying about the water problems, people worry about more development. We don't need it anymore. Instead, I want to support 2-026. We need green space. There is only one park in our district, one public park. That is sad. And so to have more green space would be so important. I have grown up in this neighborhood since I was 2 years old, and to have a place where I could have gone and played outside with my friends and done all of this would be great. And I think it would be great for our neighborhood and just great overall for Pikesville. We want to create that space, that unity for Pikesville. And so I think it's really important to support that. And so that's why I wanted to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mary Molinaro. Howard Hyman.
Hi, thank you for hearing from me. I strongly support 2-003, St. Mark's off of Old Court Road. I just want to offer a little different perspective. I'm a lifelong Pikesville resident, but also I work for Episcopal Housing Corporation. My career was spent mostly as the Comptroller of the United States Mint. I retired a few years ago. I decided to work for a nonprofit to do some good. My primary job is property management oversight. My background being a CPA is the financial slant, but also to make sure the properties are run as best that they can be. And one of the points I want to make is that you won't find a for-profit organization that has somebody in my position that spends this kind of time making sure everything's perfect. I've gotten to know the residents extremely well. We have get-togethers, Christmas, Easter, no Jewish holidays. I'm the only Jewish guy there. But anyway, and I think that this would be terrific. And as a Pikesville resident, I welcome this type of housing. It's needed. I understand the economics. People need this, and we do a great job, and I strongly support it, and I hope you do too. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hyman. And our last speaker of the evening, Elizabeth Lewins.
How did I get to be the last one? I don't know. My name is Elizabeth Lewins. I am a lifelong resident. My family has lived on the edge of Lake Roland Park for about 70 years. I have watched as a lot of tax dodgers have not helped our community at all, and they are the environment. I'm here to speak on behalf of the creatures who live in Lake Roland Park, which none of us really pay attention to until we think of things like an average American toad eats 25 mosquitoes every night. You start doing the math of the work that they do. They're unpaid. They work hard. And so I'm here to speak on behalf of, first of all, to support District 2 issues 032, 033, 034, 035, 036, 037, not 38, 039, and 040. All of those are adjacent to Lake Roland. No person in their right mind would ever want to live there because they're kind of floodplains. But for the past 22 years, I've run something called Project Toad Ferry. I'd love to welcome anybody here to join me. We ferry toads that are migrating across to go to Lake Roland every March and April. We ferry them to their migration where they have wild orgies. They then leave. We ferry them back. You may say, why care? A toad will live over 35 years if it's not run over by a car. When we started this, we were moving 300 a year. Now we're moving 3,000, more than 3,000. Their eggs feed all sorts of creatures. But I'm for the downzoning of 2025 for that same reason. In fact, the area around there, the Pine Barrens, are a rare benefit. It was carried down during the glaciers. There are turtles that live there that are only found there in this whole area. They would live over 100 years. So I'm hoping that you act on their behalf because it's so important. And I thank you for what you do, and I'm thrilled I'm the last person because I can say you guys are heroic what you do, and it must have been extraordinarily boring and hard. And I don't know, you don't drink water beforehand, right? Thank you so
Ms.
much.
Owens.
I really appreciate it.
And for those who are still here, thank you very much for coming out and participating in this process. We do this once every 4 years, and the board members, we do take this seriously. We will reflect on your notes as we make our recommendations. Thank you very much.